Hello. Pete moaning about how long my intro is throughout the whole intro.
I was clean shaven before that started.
Who are you kidding? You can't grow a beard. Who are you trying to kid?
I can ruin your intro, mate.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is well. It's been another fun week as a Tottenham fan. I use the word fun very, very loosely. Let's talk about some football. Who have we got in the panel today? We've got Mr. Box Office, who's been unusually grumpy this week in the WhatsApp group, or is it just me? Alex, how are you, my man? Are you okay?
I've been fine. I've been absolutely fine. I've got no idea what you're chatting about. Honestly, all I'm going to be doing today is getting receipts. Because Mr. Box Office is back. Because I said I was done. I was done with this team. I was done with this team, and now he's still talking. Now the waffler's talking. Now Sean first talk show. He's trying to get made on this parade right now. The guy that loves Dier, Virgil van Dijk. But anyway, we'll get into it.
I was only introducing people. It's all right.
I know. Like I say, I'm not a one hit wonder. Like I said all the time, I always get my hits. And like I said, I'm going to do it right now. But like I said, back to you, Savva.
You know what? One hit wonder is not. It's not a good way to describe yourself.
Right, moving on. I shouldn't have started with Alex. Perchy, still in England. How are you, brother? You well?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. Yeah, all good.
Good. Who are you sending selfies to? Before the show started, I could see you in the background.
I wasn't sending selfies.
Yes, you were.
No, don't be silly.
Yes, you were. Pete. I've got a treat for you tonight, Pete. How are you, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. I'll stick it like that. Alex has already used up the time for the intros.
Alex has used it up. And last but not least, Sean, whose laptop could die at any moment. How are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, very well, mate. Good to be here with you guys.
Good. It's good to have everyone here. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, as always at Spurs, it's a complete shit show. So we are going to be talking.
Hey, you broke the rules.
No, that's all right. Listen, I can say shit.
You have now. You might as well carry on.
It's Pete constantly swearing that I swear is demonetizing me from YouTube. Before we get into that tonight, we're going to talk about the following things. We're going to start off by talking about the 3-2. Okay. Then we're going to move on to this guy. I feel like he needs to be talked about. And he always looks like he's just come out the pub. Then we're going to be talking about this guy. Okay. We're going to be talking about that guy. Then we're going to talk about this poor bloke. We're going to be talking about old Davinson Sanchez. After that, we're going to move on to this guy, the midfield general. And then after that, just for Pete, we're going to be talking about this guy, Mr. Brendan Rodgers. Let's kick off. Guys, look, do you know what? There's no point being all doom and gloom about it. This is Tottenham Hotspur now. The whole thing is a mess. You're looking at the fixtures in a run-in to getting top four. Now, whether or not we care about it or not is irrelevant, but you're looking at the fixtures as a club and you're going, all right, in the last sort of 10 games, you've got Wolves away, they're struggling. You've got Everton away, they're struggling. Southampton away, they're bottom of the league. You've got Bournemouth who are struggling at home. You're looking at all these games thinking, well, there's going to be 3 or 4 wins in there. And of all the games I just mentioned, we failed to win any of them. Sean, let me start with you. Bournemouth. What did you make of it? What did you make of the lineup? What did you make of the game?
The lineup was as expected. I don't think there was many other scenarios that people were expecting. A few people were probably asking for Danjuma to maybe get a go in place of Decky, put Sonny on the right, but I think everything else kind of picked itself. Some people were saying maybe Sarr in and drop Skippy. Look, I think it was generally speaking, I'm probably going to get shot down for this immediately, but I actually thought, with the exception of a 10-minute period that hung over the heart at the end of the first half and the start of the second half, that absolutely crippled us. You know, I thought we were by far the better team, and we wasted a lot of opportunities. It could have been a very different result on a different day. I feel really sorry for. I'm never going to talk about Sanchez later, but I personally think it was a terrible decision to bring him on, and a terrible decision to bring him on and then put the Romero on the left-hand side, untested. Like the whole thing was just weird. If there was ever a time to go to a back four when the injury happened to Longley, then it was then. And we did it eventually, but by that point the damage was done. But it's difficult to really read too much into the kind of the back, like how we played with the back four when you're chasing a game against Bournemouth. But from that point on, as soon as we did go to a back four in the 58th minute or whatever it was, we dominated the game. And you could again, everyone's going to point to the defence as the reason why we should be ashamed of ourselves and the team is so bad. But once again, there were so many missed opportunities up the top end. The only players that I thought came out of that game with any kind of credit really were, I thought Perisic had a good game, generally speaking. I thought Sonny was one of his better games of late. And I thought, well, apart from Danjuma, I thought Ollie Skip was okay. Everybody else, I thought was really poor. And yeah, look, it's another shambolic play, managed by a shambolic coaching staff. It's a real it's a mess, isn't it?
It is a mess. It is. Alex, let me come to you. Do you agree with Sean's summary there? First half, were we much the better team? Was it just a 10-minute spell at the end? Do you have a different view, or do you agree with that?
Again, what did you expect? What did you expect? I said, same formation. But I'm miserable. I'm in the mud. I've been told I'm miserable. But same. What we expect. We played okay, started okay, and then we fall away like we always do, because the same players. And it's ironic, and I'll big him up, because I was arguing with this guy so many times during the lockdown. David Harris. About these players, and he was telling me about these players, and he told me about Virgil van Dijk. He told me about Sanchez. He told me about Davis. He told me about all the other players, and they failed every single time. And then people tell me that they can play in a back four. I'm sorry, no.
Are we going into this already? We're going to go into the back four versus the back five conversation already.
Savva, I'm ready. I told you, I've come back because Mr. Botfoss is hungry. He's hungry.
All right.
He's hungry.
So let me ask you a question then, Alex. Look, I agree with Sean to an extent. I mean, if we're going to have, and before I come to Perchy and Pete, if we're going to have this conversation about the back four versus back five, I always feel it's difficult because, like, I got loads of messages yesterday from people going, "Oh, there you go, Savva. We went to a back four and lost. There you go. It doesn't work." And I'm like, how can the sample size be 30 minutes of football? The sample size can't be that we went to a back four when losing, when chasing a game. Yeah. And when we had then 6 or 7 forwards on the pitch, and then we lose the game and it doesn't work. What I've been saying, Alex, is what I'd just like to see at some point. I'm not sitting here saying that Spurs are going to win the league if we go to a back four. But throughout all of this season, I would have liked to have seen just a few games in a row where we start with a back four and end with a back four, not go into a back four and then fans like you then justify, there you go, we lost. There you go, we cannot do it. Why can't we do it? But Aston Villa can do it with Young, Mings, Konza. Why can Fulham do it with a back four that got promoted last season? Why can Newcastle do it with people like Fabian Schär and Dan Burn? Why is it that everyone can do it, Alex, but apparently we're the only club in the Premier League that aren't allowed to play a back four?
It's not the case. Listen, okay, in some way I agree with your statement, but in another way I don't agree with your statement, because I still have to look at it like this. Romero and Dier are not compatible. They're not compatible. Okay, because the first thing is you got Dier, who's the veteran defender, supposed to be leading Romero. when Romero is really leading Dier. Let's be honest here. Right?
Leading him
Because
to what?
because he's the one that is taking initiative. He is making mistakes, but that's what a young player does. He makes mistakes.
Sorry,
Well,
Alex. Taking the initiative with what? Because Romero was absolutely
yeah,
horrible
but
again
you're
yesterday.
not listening. This is where we're getting it twisted here. I understand why he wasn't very good, but he's doing what he thinks is best for the team because he's frustrated, and that's his characteristics. So having someone like Dier who hasn't been great and hasn't got the initiative to show that he's great. I mean, if you put for instance, we say about the best defenders over the last decade, 2 decades. We talk about John Terry, right? If you put a John Terry next to Romero, Romero's not making those mistakes.
What? Why?
Because he's a leader. Yeah,
hang on. Let me ask this then. Lots of the mistakes I saw, and I'm going to come to Pete in a second. Lots of the mistakes I saw yesterday with Romero was Romero on the ball. It wasn't him having to cover anyone. It wasn't us in danger. There were times when he was trying drag backs in our own 18-yard box and giving the ball away. What's that got to do with Eric Dier or John Terry?
But this is the point I'm making. Right? If you put somebody next to him that is experienced, who's got that know-how, right, that's made their mistakes. Okay, it's not just about the leadership as well about Dier. It's compatibility. Okay, there's a reason why we did really well with Alderweireld and Vertonghen. Yeah, because they're compatible. It's the reason why.
And both Rolls Royce of centre halves.
Exactly. But at the same time, they got on. They were compatible. They worked well. They worked well as a partnership, as well as the back four. Because at the end of the day, if you think about the back four, okay, you're gonna have Perisic, who's not a wing fullback. Okay, you've got Porro, who for me is not a great defender. Right, he's good coming forward, but he's not a good defender. And then you've got Romero of Dier or Romero and Langley. For me, it's not compatible. Okay, it doesn't. The puzzle doesn't fit, and that's it. And that's why I say at the moment, I'm not saying we're going to get world-class defenders, no. But I think with the teams that we're looking at the moment, you just mentioned. Previously, Aston Villa, you've got Mings and Konza, I think it is. They previously worked together really well. Okay, so I think they've already have that relationship already. Okay, I think with Newcastle, you can see that there is a relationship, between the two. Unfortunately, it's not working for Tottenham Hotspur with those defenders. Okay, there's trust issues. There's trust issues all over the place. Right, and this has been going for 4 years now. Okay, yes, okay, certain defenders haven't been there for 4 years. That's not an argument here, but there's a reason why. Like I said, Savva, I don't normally agree with David. Okay, but after last year, I had to apologise to him because he was absolutely spot on. He was absolutely spot on, and I'm sorry. That's how I feel, Savva. I respect you, bruv. Yeah, it's not a case of we'll battle any time of the week. Yes, we will. But you are right in a certain way. You are right in a certain way. Yes, and I get where you're coming from. But I'm sorry. My eyes don't lie to me. I'm sorry, and that's it. Back to you, Savva. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Do you know what the funny thing is I've never known, like, I've seen people making videos about me talking about this, which absolutely cracks me up. All I'm saying is, at any point, why are we not allowed to try it, Pete? Why? Look, right now, it's going to be difficult because Royal is out injured, who's a right back, and Davis, or Sessegnon, who will be a left back, are out injured. But it's been all season, and it feels like we constantly play this bad at the back with a 5, but yet we're not allowed to play with a 4 because the players aren't good enough, but they're not good enough in a 5. I just feel it would be lovely to see that at some point, Pete, for not for half an hour when losing a game, for a consistent period of time. What do you think?
I'd rather see anything at the moment than what we're seeing what we're currently seeing. I said my interest in that fixture sort of waned as soon as I saw the lineup. I was working and I thought, well, I'll get back to work now. I can't bother to worry about that. But yeah, no, as a back four, listen, are some of them players good enough? No. But it's also about other managers have players that are not good enough, are not top class, but then they get something, they creative with what they do to make so that when they can play these players and not hinder the team. Like Ben White isn't a right back, but he's gone into Arsenal, played at right back, and then he's done a job that he does a job there. Nathan Ake isn't a left back, but he's deployed and asked to do something different rather than a conventional left back that just gets up and down. He goes into midfield and all the rest of it. So does Zinchenko. So where you may not have your out and out quality players in those positions, you can use players in a position and they do a specific role that helps improve the balance of the team rather than just thinking about in two dimensions. Well, you got to have all that. The right back's got to go up there. The left back's got to go up there. Now it's becoming a bit more, managers are getting a bit more creative with it and going, well, that's what normally happens, but I'm going to do something different to allow me to play a different way with what I've got. It's about being creative and finding solutions rather than just saying, we ain't got the players, so we can't do it. Well, sorry, this is Tottenham. And let's be honest, you look at Man City, Liverpool, all the teams, well, not Liverpool at the moment, but Man City concede lots of chances. They concede goals. But what they do is they're worried about where they're strongest and then focus their efforts in that way, which is what we should be doing.
So let me ask that, Perchy. Let me come to you and ask that. Look, I mean, what I don't want to do is spend ages talking about back four versus back five, because for me, look, there isn't quality there. We know that. That's the overarching point. For me, one of the bigger issues I'm seeing with this team at the moment, Perchy, is the midfield two of Skip and Hojbjerg. It looks awful. It just looks sluggish, like cart horses. It just looks really, really, really poor. Why are we not seeing Sarr given a game, considering he's young, athletic, got a good engine? Why is Stellini sticking with those two come rain or shine?
I'll be honest, I don't think he knows what he's doing. Sounds bad, but like it's kind of he has one way, and this is where it all kind of stemmed from with the whole when he was put in charge. I kind of went, nothing's really going to change with him there. He's following exactly the same blueprint that Conte left. And really, nothing really works. Let's be honest. And just to sort of not to harp on about the three at the back or the four at the back. I think the problem for me is we don't change. And I said, we don't, other managers seem to be able to go, today we're going to play a three back because we're doing it for this reason. And this time we're going to play a four back. We play the same system against everyone and we never seems to work. We play the most boring football in the league. I said this all season. We're so boring to watch. We're not exciting, but you just kind of go, and regardless of that, and you can, I always said, you can argue, if we're getting results, you can argue about the boring football. That's the only justification, but we're not even winning games of this. We're losing games constantly, and it's starting to get to a stage where it just doesn't work. The two in midfield, we're weak in midfield, so why are we playing two midfielders there? It doesn't make sense.
Does anyone else have an opinion on that? I mean, for me, I think more than when I talked about 4 at the back versus 5 at the back, the biggest worry for me in all of this is that the 5 at the back only allows us to play 2 in midfield. And that for me is a real worry because, again, I feel like yesterday we were out-muscled in midfield again during certain periods of the game because Skip and Hojbjerg can't run. There's no engines in there. Does anyone else see where I'm coming from with that? With the just playing 2 in midfield every single game?
Yeah. Also, it's it creates a problem where we have to keep when we playing out from the back. It always goes to the wing back on either side. So it's very predictable. And if you watch Bournemouth yesterday, they knew exactly where we were going to try and play out from. So they just smothered us at the wing back areas. That's where most of their goals come from, where they say, well, they're not going to play it into midfield because they've only got 2 and neither of them are great on the ball anyway. And it will just go straight back to the back line. So the only way of getting out is going down the sides. So and every other team does it. So they just swarm. As soon as they're allowed a fullback to get the ball, and then there's 3 or 4 players waiting to just all close them down because it's so predictable because you haven't got that other man in midfield who can drop deep, pick the ball off the back 4 and then start something. It's always got to be to the sides because they're just outnumbered all the time. So I do feel from in that respect, you're asking two limited players to be outnumbered week in, week out.
Yeah, Sean, what do you make of that? And you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. The only problem I have with going to a back four right now, first and foremost, I genuinely think that I had a debate with Jack and Dave on their watch along during the watch along. I think that Romero gets away with murder when it comes to fair criticism. I feel like he's the best that we have. Although this season, for the first half of the season, I actually think that Longley was probably the best centre half that we've had this year on paper. Well, in practice, Romero is our most talented centre back, or centre half. But he, I think, gets away with so much. If he was playing in an Arsenal team, you take out Rob Holding or you take out whoever, and you play him alongside Gabriel and who's the other centre back for Arsenal? My mind's gone blank.
Saliba.
Sorry, if you were playing along those, playing him alongside them, he'd get so much more criticism. The only reason he gets away with it is because he's playing alongside Dier and Davies or Dier and Longley. And for me personally, like, he's had a terrible season, and I think yesterday he was absolutely embarrassing as well at times. But I think because he's the best of a bad bunch, he doesn't get the criticism that he should. What I would say is that if you do want to go to a back four, whether it's with him and Dier or next season with him and Longley or hopefully as someone better, I think the problem that we have if you want to do that, especially if you want to have someone like Porro and Udogie on the right and the left, who we don't know what Udogie's like defensively, but for me, Porro absolutely shambolic yesterday going forward and defensively. Right, absolutely awful. But the point for me is that you need to have a monster number 6. We don't have a monster number 6. Whether it's Bentancur, Hojbjerg, Skippy, Sarr, none of those people are good number 6s. You need to go and get someone, and they're probably the number 6 thing is probably not on the top of the priority list. But you need to go and get someone like a Ugarte from Sporting, like a Palhinha from Fulham. Someone that's accessible. Like Palhinha will be dream world, and then you can sit there and plant him in front of Romero and whoever's next to him, and then you can allow people like Porro and Udogie or whatever that mix is next season to do their thing. Until you have someone who can play in that monster 6, then I think that you're always going to be exposed, whoever you have next to Romero next season. And even if Romero improves, you do need to have someone better at the 6 than we currently have. We have 5 different number 8s of different quality and different strengths. We don't have a 6, a genuine, proper number 6, and that's a massive problem for me. So I'm happy to see that we tried the 4 at the back yesterday. Obviously, it was through force, not through design or not through choice.
Yeah.
But for me, until you get someone next to Romero and also someone who can play in the 6 and be that monster, I think that Tottenham will struggle as well.
I think you're missing the point completely. I think
I'm
you're
sure
missing the point absolutely completely. No, it's not directing at you. It's just the way you said. Lenglet had a good first part of the season. Romero didn't. He did his job. The fact is,
I know that.
When you
didn't hear me, mate. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Longley's good.
But the point I'm making is let me land on the point. My point is that even if you have a number 6 there, even if you have another 6 there, and again, Sean, I'm bantering you again. My point is, if you put a number 6 there, okay, he's still playing with the same players that are not working. The thing is, though, we all say that Arsenal the magic measuring stick, because you see the example of Arsenal. They had good players when Arteta came into that club. Okay, he looked at that squad. And they won the FA Cup, yeah? It was going wrong the next couple of seasons, yeah? And the reason why it was going wrong, because the mixture wasn't right, yeah? So he got all those players out after he was let off after winning 8th, and 5th, yeah? And he got rid of the players that weren't good enough, yeah? He got away with, when he brought in Willian, yeah, when it didn't work out, he got away with certain players that weren't working out at Arsenal, right? And he got those players out, and they got a loss on them, yeah. And then he brought in players that he wanted to fit into the system he wanted. Of course, and that's it. And that's why when you look at Arsenal,
I don't understand what that's got to do with the number 6 talk that Sean was talking about.
No. But the point I'm making is the mixture of players right? Whether you put a number 6 there or not, if you still got the mixture of players that we've already got already, okay, it's still going to go to pot anyway.
Yeah, but that's not how football works, is it?
Because you cannot coach the same players that have not failed us again and again and again.
Yeah, but that's not okay.
And listen, Savva, like I said before, I can subscribe to what you're saying. I can subscribe to what I'm saying, but because I've seen this many, many times over and over again at the stadium as well, okay, and I've watched Dier passing, watching Romero passing, watching Lenglet passing, Davis passing as well. I'm sitting there saying, I'm sorry, you can't do it anymore. You've got to change it.
Yes, but Alex, that's got nothing to do with the point. If you took a number 6, let's talk number 6, right? If you had, for example, let's look at a few number 6. If you had a Rodri who protects the back 4, if you had a Casemiro who protects the back 4, a Paulinho, yeah, that protection, what Sean is talking about, yeah, then allows the strength of the fullbacks to be utilised going that way. Yeah, he's not saying you get a number 6 and we don't need a new centre back, but he's saying that would go a long way to helping us play a 4 with attacking fullbacks, wing backs, whatever, in Porro.
Even if you were to get another centre back, even if you were to go and get whoever, right? Insert Indica, whatever, whoever you want, right? Whoever your number 1 choice is on the left-footed, left-sided centre back. Even if you were to get him in the summer, for me personally, and you went to a back 4 and you had Porro and Udogie as your first choice, I still think there would be issues with the midfielders that we have. I don't think any of them, Bissouma, Bentancur, Hojbjerg, Skip, or Sarr, I don't think any of them play the 6 well. That's my point.
I don't think you understood what you said. I said completely at all.
No, but Alex, we did. You just went off point. You went off point.
Yeah. No, I didn't go off point at all. I said to you, right, whether you bring in a number 6, which is what I meant, is that, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but he will be covering for the bad plays we've got already.
Yeah, but that's not what Sean said.
But that's what I'm trying to say to you. Is the point I'm making is that whether you have, because Bentancur, right, was covering for the first part of the season as well. Because to be fair to him,
6, mate,
but Bentancur isn't a defensive midfielder.
No, he's not a 6. No, but he was doing a lot of the work, a lot of the time as well. Okay, because that midfield was helping us last season as well. And,
I think we're missing a point. I think the point's being missed here completely. What we're talking about is if next season we go to a 4 was Sean's point.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
right. If next season we go to a 4, what he's saying is even if you bring in a top centre back, he's not talking about, because you keep saying about coaching these bad players. No one's talking about that. He said even if you get, let's just as we said, an undercart, a Hincapi, a Botman, I don't know, anyone. Even if you put that person next to Romero, the point is the 2 fullbacks that we've got for next year are Porro and Udogie. And in order to get the best out of them, and even if you brought in Paolo Maldini to play at centre-half alongside Romero, right, you still need protection. You still need protection there to allow. Now, the only way I can explain this, and sorry, Sean, if this wasn't your point, the only way I can say this is think of the Poch team that played a 4 at the back, right? Walker and Rose were up, always high up the pitch, right? But even with how good Toby and Yan were, you had Wanyama and Dembele that would both take it in turns to drop in and 100%. Do all that hard work. That's all that Sean's saying.
That's all I'm saying.
What we're doing is we keep going back to you can't coach these players. We're not. No,
that's where I agree with you. That's where I agree with you. That's where I absolutely agree with you. That's what I'm trying to lead to.
That's all I was saying, mate. That's all I was saying.
That's what I'm leading to. What you're saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
Because I've still got receipts on Sean. I've got to be honest, but that's all good. I still love you, Sean, regardless.
The receipt you're talking about is yesterday. I said that Eric Dier was our best centre back yesterday, and he was. He was our best centre-half yesterday. I'm not saying that he's a great player. No. I don't want him to get a new contract, right? I'm just calling it on a 90-minute performance. Eric Dier was better than Romero, and he was better than Sanchez. And Longley, defensively,
awful yesterday.
He was terrible yesterday.
The only point I made about Eric Dier was I'm not sitting here championing Eric Dier, Alex. I wasn't yesterday either. I think the guy doesn't deserve a new contract. I don't want him at the club. I'm with everybody else on that. But in an isolated incident yesterday, I thought Eric Dier didn't have a bad game relative to the other centre-backs that were on display. And you saying that you've got a receipt on me, I don't know what, like, explain where I'm wrong on that. Like, I don't explain where I'm wrong.
Another day.
As I said before, I mean, do you want to move on to somebody else first, Savva? I
just want to get Pete's take on that because look, let's call it for what it is, Pete. Right? So many people all year I've heard, who is it always says, we're always 2 players short. I keep hearing if we just buy 1, 2, we're great. Let's be really honest, Pete. This team needs a new keeper. It needs a minimum of 1 centre back, depending on the formation. Right?
Arguably 2 centre backs. Right?
Okay, so a goalkeeper, 2 centre backs. I think we need a defensive midfielder.
Same.
I still think we need a creative midfielder.
Same.
Yeah. And I still think we then need another forward player because Richarlison is woeful.
Yeah, and Lucas Moura's off, and Danjuma's not going to be renewed, and Brian Hill probably will probably be sold back to Spain or Portugal or whatever else, right?
Right. So, Pete, this is the problem, right? This is what I keep saying, right? And I'm going to move it on a tiny bit. When I keep saying, for example, that I want a manager that is going to build now, people go, oh, Savva wants another project manager. Let's be fair. We could have Pep Guardiola coming in. We could have Sir Alex coming in. We could have company coming in. Whoever it is, they're going to need time, aren't they, Pete? On a serious note, Pete, they're going to need time.
Everyone will need time. But it goes back to what I just said. We ain't going to get all that in a window or even probably 2 windows. So then you go, right, I've got players with certain skill sets. Can I do something different with them that's a bit unconventional to the norm? Who you never know. Like you could put Porro, instead of him running up the wing, he goes into midfield, or Adoji does it. You don't, until these things are tried, you don't know. That's what a creative manager comes in and goes, right, I know what I'd like to have, but I haven't got it. So rather than be like Conte and throw his toys out of the pram, I haven't got this, it's not my fault, all the rest of it. Yeah, you're never going to get that in the first place. Go, okay, well, what can I do with what I've got? And go, right, well, actually, I in an ideal world, you'd love to get up there, but actually, you're going to do this for me. Yeah, this is what more managers are doing now because Pep can't get any player he wants. Even Pep Guardiola at Man City can't just go out and buy any player he wants. He said that time and time again. Yeah, and they've missed out on players. And even with Rodgers and his 2 better centre halves, like what we've got, you can still get at Man City and get at them often. I mean, we've beaten. I won't even swear. We've beat them, and we're a pony. Do you know what I mean? So it can be done. It's just you've got to think outside the box a bit, and this is why you're more creative managers. Your De Zerbi's, Arteta's turned up. He bought Zinchenko. Every Arsenal fan thinking he's going to tear up the left wing all the time, and he doesn't.
Done it.
He goes. Xhaka gets forward because then that gives because he's suspect in midfield and reckless. So then, no, do you know what? We can move him there, and he gets up there, and then he makes a difference up there rather than something at the midfield. It's all
100%. You're spot on, Peter.
That's where we have to go.
The best managers earn their money by getting creative when they've got problems.
Problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Give me a problem. Give me a solution rather than a problem all the time. Yeah, because that's what they're paid for.
Let me come to Perchy just quickly before I do. Guys and girls, thank you. There's 354 of you in the chat and only 73 likes. Little bit stingy. Just saying it.
Come on, guys.
Just saying. Little bit stingy. And shamelessly, help me get to 5K. We are 398 away from the 5K mark.
Sorry, can I add one thing before you go to Perchy? When we talk about our midfield, we've also still got and underutilised is Bissouma, who is a very, very good player who we've seen before.
Great.
That is a player
how would you use him? How would you? Because I was going to ask you, Pete. Again,
I don't know because he's done one role and he's been wasted since he's come to the club.
I'll start with Perchy on Bissouma in 1 second. I just wanted to quickly say, first of all, THFC Till I Die, thank you very much. Become a channel member. If you would like to become a channel member, please do. Once I get to a certain number of channel members, I will have channel member only shows, a more intimate setting, should I say? Yeah, absolutely. And Phil P, why wasn't there a post-Conte plan? Phil, I'll come back to this because I feel if we start that conversation right now, we're going to be in that for forever. So I will come back to that, but thank you. Please smash the likes. Please keep subscribing. And hopefully you're enjoying the show so far. Perchy, let me start with you. Interesting point about Bissouma, because we've seen Bissouma in the Premier League have brilliant years. Like, we know his strengths. For me, and people are going to automatically say I'm discounting Bentancur, but at the moment, I'm kind of pushing him to the side because of the injury, and we don't know what's going to happen with him, and he's out until November, December. He won't be back to, if he does get back to his best, might not be till January, February. For me, I think we need Bissouma in that midfield, in a midfield three, in whatever formation we play, with a defensive midfielder behind him and an attacking midfielder like James Maddison in front of him. Do you think that Bissouma's got a really important part to an important role to play, depending on who the new manager is?
Massively. As I said, we obviously signed Bissouma for a reason. We all saw him at Brighton and we all went, what a player, we would like that. I said it for 12 months when he was there, and I went, he's the player that would walk into our midfield. But he didn't get the opportunity before his injury, got injured, and you just thought it was a bit of a waste. He walks into our midfield right now. We need someone who's a ball carrier, but he can play defensive as well. He can play deeper. He can be the one that sort of breaks up play. We don't have anyone that does that. We don't have anyone in this midfield that breaks up play well enough. Mm-hmm. You could argue Skip, but I don't think he's at that level at all. I think he's all right, but I don't think he's great at all. And the problem is he should have been in a mid. He needs to be in a midfield three. You said this earlier in the season. A player that was suited in a midfield three, was brilliant at Brighton in a 3-man midfield, and then we put him in a 2-man midfield, and everyone goes, "He's crap." He's not crap, is he?
And then the 2 times he was tried in a 3-man midfield, when we went 3-5-2, it was an untested formation.
Of course, and that's the thing. I think you have to look at it with a bit of relevance and stuff. And go, for me, he's the one in the midfield. We build our midfield around him. We go, do you know what? We're going to find someone that can complement him defensively and someone that can complement him in an attacking sort of thing, like a Maddison, a McAllister. And
the problem is with that though, Perch, right? Sorry, just not to cut you off. We've got 5 midfielders currently.
Yep.
And they'll do the same thing, right?
Yeah, no, agreed. I think that's our biggest problem.
Hojbjerg, Bentancur, and Bissouma. If you're going to build the midfielder around Bissouma, and then you want to put a 6 in behind him and get another new number 10 or whatever in front of him, then you have to make very tough decisions around the other 4. What do you do with Bentancur? What do you do with Hojbjerg, Skippy, and Sarr?
Hang on, it's not just 4, Sean. You think you've got Ndombele, Lo Celso, and Harry Winks?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, perfect.
Count them as well. So
none of them are defensive.
What do you do with them?
None of them are number 6s, and none of them are number like 8s. It's just ridiculous.
I agree with. Exactly. Sorry to interrupt, but everyone's interrupting you, so that's the only reason why I put my points in. And that's no disrespect to you, Virtue, by the way.
I love that. Everyone else is, so I'll do it as well.
I think it's all good, but I think I do agree with that. Bissouma should be the penultimate guy there, but then you need somebody next to him. Maybe a creative midfielder or something.
We need 2 next to him, realistically.
I don't think that is Bentancur. That's just me. I don't think there's a reason why it didn't work at Juventus when Conte moved on.
He's our best midfielder though this year, right?
Well, I think he's good for what Conte wanted him to do. Yes.
And you can't sell a player on the back of a cruise ship. So,
but I think certain players are good for certain things. I think Bentancur is good for certain things. I think Bentancur, Bissouma is a Rolls Royce as a midfielder for me. That is who can spark things off very, really well. But I think if you get a good partnership, like you said with the Dembele and Wanyama situation, it worked because they all worked. They got each other.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying.
So would you sell?
That's where my question mark is at the moment.
Is the easiest one to sell then Hojbjerg?
Yeah, for me,
I don't think.
I'll be honest. I don't think any of them are easy to sell. I don't think any of them are easy to sell. Not because I don't think we'll be able to get any sort of the way that we operate. We will not get any sort of level of Stop putting his face on screen, for Lord's sake.
I was seeing how quickly until Perchy got peed
It's
off.
starting to bite, don't I? Will bite.
Let's talk about Hojbjerg there, Perchy. Start it off, because
Sure.
whilst we're talking about this midfield thing, I'm sorry, this guy is toilet. I'm sorry, this guy, he runs like. I was watching the game. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And Graham turned around and said to me, "If you know Graham, Pete, you know Graham from our group, and Perchy, you're in the group as well." Graham turned around and said, "He's a cab horse." Like, that's what he calls him. He's a cab horse. He can't run. When he's got the ball,
what's a cab horse? What's a cab horse?
Google it. Google it.
Yeah, I'll Google it.
Google it.
Oh.
He can't run.
Mhm.
When he does get now, I don't mind if you can't run as a midfielder. That's cool. There are midfielders that aren't blessed with legs, but they've got that vision and they've got that pass, like a Jan Molby. If anyone remembers Jan Molby, right? That type of player. This guy, he hasn't got the legs on him. His passing, Perchy, for me, every now and then he does a good through ball and we all go, "Oh, look, well done." But his passing throughout 90 minutes is poor. I don't know what everyone sees in Hojbjerg. And if anyone's willing to give 40 million for him, as rumored before,
40 million quid.
I'm sorry.
Real Madrid were interested, weren't they, back in Jan or last summer, whenever it was?
Maybe. I mean, as you said, you clutch at sort of rumours and hearsay and all that lot. I think Hojbjerg is the most overrated midfielder in the Premier League. And people in the chat, I don't care what you say. You want to much the box office rant from me? I'll get it with Hojbjerg. I think he's average, and it really irritates me with Hojbjerg because everyone says to me how great he is. Okay. Let's start at the top of the table. Arsenal, would they have him? No. Man City, no. Man United, no. Newcastle, no. Skip Tottenham. Who's next? Villa. Would he go into Villa?
Newcastle have got a couple of bang average midfielders as well, though.
I don't. You really?
Not
I think
compared
that,
to Hojbjerg.
not compared to Hojbjerg. I don't think he walks into that team. I mean, you could, okay. We could clutch a little bit at Newcastle. I don't think so, but we can agree to disagree on that. Villa, no.
I don't think he gets in Villa's team.
Does he get Brighton? No.
Sean Longstaff is better than Hojbjerg.
Yeah, all day long.
I think he's got a better engine on him.
All day long. All day. I don't know what Hojbjerg does. This is the problem. Hojbjerg puts in a couple of tackles, beats his chest, and everyone goes, "Oh, the Viking." But then we talk about we want to get better as a team. But then when you suggest moving average, not you, Sean, but when you suggest moving average players on, people get really defensive about it. For me,
I'm happy for Hojbjerg because I think that if you've got 5 players that all play the same, that are generally the same, and one of them is Skip, and you probably need him for homegrown. Even though I don't necessarily think I think he's talented, and we'll see where he goes, but I don't think he's special. Pape Sarr, you ain't going to get rid. It'd be stupid to get rid of him because you don't even know what you have with him. He could become something.
Sure.
Exactly, I agree with you there. And then if you got Bissouma, and we all agree that Bissouma we're all excited about, and you got Bentancur, you're never going to be able to sell Bentancur when he's got a cruciate. You have to let that one play out. Then the obvious money, and the one where you probably could get 25, 30 million for him, because he does have a reputation, not just within Tottenham, but he does have it. I think you probably could move him on, and then with that money, make way for a Ugarte or a Polinia. Net, you're 15 million quid out, underwater, but then you've got a proper 6 to sit in front of Romero and whoever's next to him.
Sorry to cut you off there. Sorry, but the bit I have an issue. You say we can move him on to who? I'm genuine. I'm still going down the Premier League in my head and going, where does he go?
Europe. I think there's definitely.
Do you know where I think he goes?
He could go to. He could go back to Germany.
I reckon he goes and replaces Matic at Roma.
Probably.
Yeah. You could. The problem with it is Italy's bankrupt, right? So I don't know how that looks. Maybe
haven't Roma got billionaire owners though, Sean? Aren't they?
Wait, Italian football and Spanish football are both on their knees right now.
Yeah. I hear
they really are financially. I think that but I do think that Hojbjerg has because Hojbjerg. Don't forget, Hojbjerg was at Munich, right? And he won the league at Munich, didn't he? So he's got a reputation in Germany, and I think he's a perfect player for certain leagues. I think you could find a buyer for him. You wouldn't get ridiculous money, but you'd actually probably turn a profit on Hojbjerg, and then you could make way for the player that you need to play a proper 6. Because like I said 1,000 times now, I think we've got 5 players that all play the same position. None of them are great. get rid of one of them, bring in a proper 6 that can protect that back 4, and then you can do things next season.
I just look at it, the way I look at it, guys, is if you look at all of the teams around us, there's no point looking at Arsenal and Man City. If I look at Newcastle, even then, when you look at the likes of Bruno Gomes in there, even look at Joe Linton compared to Hojbjerg. I can't believe I'm saying it. Look at Joe Linton. Pace, power, legs, gets forward, gets back, tackles. You know what I mean, right? Now, even if I look at Aston Villa, players like Ramsey, McGinn.
John McGinn, amazing. Yeah.
Right, even Leander Dendoncker, who was excellent yesterday in the midfield for Aston Villa.
John McGinn has got the biggest thighs I've ever seen in my entire life. They are ridiculous.
I didn't see that.
The difference is with Joel Linton, though. The difference is with Joel Linton, where I think Eddie Howe and you got Pep Guardiola as well, because what he's done with Stones is quite interesting. John Stones, the way he's playing at the moment, right? I think they try and use the opportunity to get a player to do something different, play a different position. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think, and create, try and get them to do different things for the team. If you know what I mean. I think that's what
Pete was saying earlier, Alex. Right? That's what Pete was saying earlier. Yeah, I think a creative manager that goes, you know what, you're not actually very good there, but you've got all the attributes to go there.
Yeah, but I still think that can be done with certain players there, but certain players still need to leave. That's the only problem I have at the moment. So that's what I'm not trying to harp the point again, but I'm just saying it's just what I'm saying at the end of the day. But I think I do feel that you can have a creative manager to do that, but you do need time. I think the difference is with those managers, they've got time and they've got the pressure of having to achieve Champions League every single week, if you know what I mean. That's a problem, because...
No, listen, I hear you. I think, can we acknowledge as a fan base, right? I think we all acknowledge that if we could rip up 95% of this squad in the summer and get 95% new players, we would. But at the same time, the problem with this narrative of just get rid of all the players, one, it's not realistic, right? Two, not going to happen in one window, right? And three, like Sean was saying, these players, no matter how much we don't like them, we're telling the world how shit they are, right? But then we're hoping that all of these teams around the world are going, I'll have him. And it's not just it's not just the fee. So let's take a group of players, for example. Let's say in the summer, I said to you, we're going to get rid of these 10 players, right? We're going to get rid of Eric Dier, right? We're going to get rid of, Eric Dier. We're going to get rid of Ndombele, Lo Celso, Winks, Hojbjerg, Davinson Sanchez,
Reguilon,
Sessegnon, right? Not only do we have to find somebody that's willing to pay the fee that Daniel Levy will accept for them, because let's be fair, he's not just going to go, oh, all right, give me 5 million for them. The club has to be able to afford their salary, right? And this is the thing. If I'm Davinson Sanchez, who I believe is on about 80 to 85 grand a week, someone in the chat will tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's on 3.5 million a year, which equates roughly to that.
I remember he was going to go and he had the opportunity to leave in January, and he said, "No, thank you."
Right. Yeah. And so this is the problem. Why? So when we're talking about, listen, don't get me wrong. As I said, people will take what I'm saying completely out of context. People always do, right? But when we're saying about just get rid of everybody, it's not going to happen.
It's not football manager.
I'm not saying it's not football manager. I know it's not easy, but the problem I have at the moment, and I've said it on my channel, Mr. Box Office TV, if you really want to know, rebranded like I said before, right? My point is, I think these players are going to get us relegated. Without Harry Kane,
we'd be in a relegation battle. I agree.
Will get us relegated, because it's not a coincidence that Everton are in relegation trouble at the moment, right?
Half the league aren't they? Let's be honest. 8 teams are still involved in a relegation.
I know, but let's be honest here. Everton are, a pallbearer of the Premier League. They've not got relegated. They've been in the Premier League for a long time. Yeah, them getting relegated is a message to every top club. If you don't show up, show out and show up, you'll be like another Everton. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
I
Tottenham
think we all agree.
no way far from that at all. Without Harry Kane, which I think, unfortunately, of
Yeah,
this
we're
Scottish
gonna
thing,
find out. We're gonna find out next season, aren't we, Alex? Because I don't think he's going to
I
be
think
here.
he's
is he?
staying. I think he's staying
Yeah,
personally.
what about
For
Well, he's not
personal
going to
reasons.
be. If he's not here next season, he's not going to be here the season
I
after.
absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. But the point I'm making is that these players are going to get us relegated.
Alex, I completely agree with you. That's why, for me, guys, if we move this on to the manager situation, we'll talk about Stellini. We'll talk about rumours about Redknapp coming in to steady the
Before
ship.
we do that, can I have my say on Hojbjerg? Because I'm probably completely different to you lot.
Yeah,
weird,
yeah.
though.
You like him the way you like Rodgers, don't you?
I just think the bloke gets a bit of unnecessary grief. Let's be honest. He's a limited player. We know that. He's been asked to do things that he shouldn't be asked to be doing. Yeah, he's playing in the midfield that's outnumbered every week. I think he runs through walls for the team. Yeah, he's not that great on the ball and all them sorts. We know that, but he's been asked to do it. So why is the manager asking him to do it? He's been asked to do stuff he can't do. It's like,
I
know what I
agree.
mean?
I agree.
And also towards the back end of the seasons, last season was the same, and this season he does fade because he gets flogged to death all through the rest of the season, playing every game. Remember under Jose, he played every Europa League game and all that. He didn't need to, and then by the end of the season, he was knackered. And same with this season. It's from the beginning of the season,
he plays a ridiculous amount of games, doesn't he?
Early in the season, he's probably our best midfielder. Yeah, he added quite a few goals into his game, which he didn't do last year. I just think a limited player, you ask him to do too much, and in the midfield two every week, and he's chasing his arse every week.
Hey, I don't hate him, mate, but like if you're going to make the idea of like which one of the midfielders.
Oh, listen, I agree. I always said we will come to a point where we will evolve past Hojbjerg, like we did with Palacios when we first got him. He was great, and he was like, "Whoa, we've never had this before." And then we eventually upgraded, and we're probably coming to that point with Hojbjerg.
I think isn't he? Probably the most sellable, and also the one that like you ain't going to get rid of Skippy because he's homegrown. You ain't going to get rid of Sarr because we don't know what we have.
Hojbjerg
is probably someone you can
out of him, and he's got a work ethic like a lot of our players don't have. So that is marketable, but I just think he's getting a bit too much hard grief when really he hasn't done much wrong.
No, no grief from me. I like the guy. I think I love him.
Being asked to do stuff that he can't do. I agree. Like a bit like
I do agree with you, Pete. I just feel
like it's like asking you to have a wank with your left hand or something. You know, it's like it's hard work. You'll get it done, but it's not going to be the same if you.
It'd be a long way. It'd be a long wait. Yeah, it'd be like Savva's intro.
It was coming.
You know what I mean? But I think it's got to be like realistic. Yeah.
By the way, I keep it PG. By the way, Mr. Box Office keeps it PG, Savva. By the way, so appreciate.
Moving on from Pete, and yet another bad take from Pete. Pete's coming with all the bad takes in the recent weeks.
When we gonna have wrong?
Let's people in the chat. Thank you for your comments. I do try to bring up every comment if I can. Please keep it PG, keep it clean. Please, I've seen a couple of comments. Can we stop talking about any other YouTubers, please? We're here to talk about football and football only. Please keep smashing the likes. We've got 110 likes, but 351 of you in here, so that's a bit stingy. And only one more subscriber from when I last checked. So come on, guys, smash the subscribe and the like button. Let's move it on to the manager piece, because look, I keep hearing a lot of it doesn't matter who's the manager at this club, nothing's going to change. But like we talked about last week, of course it matters who the manager is, right? Of course it does. What we need, I think, badly is the new manager's got to come in, and from the very get-go, we've got to know what do you want to play? Do you know what I mean? What do you want to play? And then we've got to go and attack the market in that way. Because otherwise I feel like we're just going to be in the same situation we're in now. So guys, I'll start with you, Sean. Look, lots of people asking to Phil P's point earlier about why didn't we have a plan in terms of getting rid of Conte? A lot of people saying we should have a brand new manager right now. That should be sorted. But I look at it slightly different and say, well, if you are a manager outside of Tottenham Hotspur right now, one of two things is happening, right? You are either already at a club and you're not going to go anywhere with 8 games of the season to go, right? B, if I'm a Pochettino, for example, who hasn't got a job, or an Enrique who hasn't got a job, and I'm being talked to, equally, I'm not looking at this last 8 games and this squad and going, yeah, I'll take over now. I'm saying, let me pick up the reins at the end of the season. What do you make of that?
So I had to have a little bit of like a self-mudding session on the Irish Hotspur yesterday after the game, because like it didn't dawn on me when the initial decision was made about the ridiculousness of putting Stellini in and expecting something different.
Agreed.
At the time, I was like, good, I'm glad Conte's gone. You can't say what you say, no matter whether he's right or wrong, but how he said it, why he said it, all those things were calculated. You have to go. Like that was a fait accompli. But I was of the mindset where like, okay, well, at least with Stellini, there's some sort of stability there. And my initial thought was like, okay, well, let's just get through the end of the season, and hopefully now that the shackles can come off the players and can come off Stellini. But in retrospect, it was bonkers to expect someone who comes from the same stable as Conte to do something different than Conte.
Sure,
so I own that. I was wrong, right? But where I would say people like Daniel Levy are always going to be wrong no matter what they do in that situation is if he sacks Conte and he hires Nagelsmann 4 days later because Nagelsmann gets fired or whatever from Bayern Munich 2 days later, then the people like all of us here who want a plan and a philosophy and an ethos, and everybody else on different channels who have their own vibe about Daniel Levy, everyone then has the right to say, that's just an opportunistic managerial signing. There's no plan. The only reason we've now got Nagelsmann is because coincidentally and favourably, 48 hours after you got rid of Conte, this guy comes available, right? And so he would then have the mud thrown at him that there's no plan, there's no philosophy, there's no ethos, and it's an opportunistic signing. If he waits, then when managers become available, the same people who would want him to have a plan and a philosophy are then going to say, why aren't you taking advantage of the openings that have happened? Why aren't you going after Potter if that's whoever's their guy is, or Nagelsmann, or Brendan Rodgers, or whoever it might be? Like, and so I think that the owner, Daniel Levy, can't do right for doing wrong. It doesn't matter what he does; he's going to have mud thrown at him. But for me personally, I'll own it and go, I thought that Stellini coming in was the right thing to do because it offered some stability, and yet it gave Daniel Levy and his board time to sit behind the scenes and not air the dirty laundry in public and figure out what they want to do, and then wait until the season, because you're in that kind of weird Goldilocks zone or the anti-Goldilocks zone where you've got 8 games left. What can a new manager really do in that period? It's better just to wait and see. But actually, so whilst I agreed with that philosophy in the moment, actually now I realise that Stellini coming in and me expecting something different was stupid on my part. So I'll own the self-mudding on it. But generally speaking, I think that it still makes sense to a degree to wait until you've got a plan behind the scenes and then make your move. That's where I'm at right now.
So listen, I'm gonna go to Alex because he's had this look on his face for about 2 minutes now that worries me. Just before I do, got a super chat to read. So thank you to Blunderbeak Coys. Nice to see you. Thank you for the super chat that said Savva, loving football heritage. I've been a Spurs fan since 1984. Sean, Savva, Perchy, Pete, and Mr. Box Office. You chaps are the only thing that make me feel connected to my beloved Spurs. Keep it up. Yeah, listen, hang in there, man. Listen, we're all struggling to feel that connection with Spurs at the moment, but it will bounce back. Some good times will be around the corner, hopefully. And we've got to remain upbeat, and we try and make these shows as fun and interactive as possible for you and for the other 350 people watching to join in and read out your comments, and hopefully you're enjoying it. So thank you very much for that. Just quickly before I come to you, Alex, I just want to, Jason, I keep seeing your posts and saying, same again next year, you all pay and feed them, keep this rubbish going. Some of us have stopped going, Jason. This is the thing.
Yeah, I don't go anymore.
I refused at the beginning of the season to keep going because of how the club is run. I've seen lots of other people have since taken that stance. People had that stance before me. I'm not a trendsetter or anything. Perchie won't go. Pete, I think you are pretty much the same.
No, I don't go. I can go, but no chance.
I didn't go. I go very, very rarely.
Haven't paid the money into them for 2 years now.
I go to more away games than I do home.
Yeah,
so
away games.
I love to go and see the stadiums that I haven't been to before.
Yeah,
away games are different. It's all about the banter on the train and all that. But
Yeah. By the way, just quickly, you. I saw you last night on other shows. Absolutely digging me out. Yeah. So listen,
and me, bro.
You do this a lot. You go onto shows and you literally cuss the shit out of me, and then you come on and go big up Savva, and it's like, dude, I see you do it. So, do you know what I mean? Just play nice, my friend. Just play nice. Alex, you look.
Let's hear you, Alex. Let's hear you bury me for what I've just said.
You've got shotgun is loaded.
You've got a shovel in your hand, and you were smiling at what Sean was saying. Let's
taking orders a minute ago.
I guarantee, before you start speaking, I guarantee within 60 seconds he is trailed off on a random tangent that has nothing to do with what I said.
I'm going
to talking about Love Island or something.
Let's go. Go on, Alex. Let's see it, mate. Let's see it.
Is he done? Right, cool. Mr. Box Office time again. As I said, it's funny. He had to bring in Daniel Levy in the conversation as well. It's quite funny. He was wondering, oh yeah, when we sack Conte, it's going to be all okay. Well, it obviously isn't, because he's got his assistant back in charge, and it's the same thing. Again,
I don't think anyone said that though, Alex. I don't know. I don't know who said sack Conte and then everything immediately falls into place.
Well, it's a surprise. I was like, what? Like, it's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. You know what I mean? If it had a plan, they should have never bought Conte in the first place. Okay.
So I said 60 seconds. We are now on 22 seconds. Okay.
Oh, well, again, like, you haven't even let me land. That's the thing. It's like, it's like the whole point is, if they had a plan, they would have never got Conte in the first place. Okay. The fact is, right, they didn't sack him because he wasn't doing really well and his coaching. The only reason why they sacked the guy is because of his rants. That is the thing. That's what's worrying me. The whole thing. That's why I think they've kept his assistant.
And sacking, mate. It was mutual consent. By the way, correct the record.
Well, no, yeah, but whether it's mutual, he didn't
want to be here.
It's called being diplomatic. It's called being diplomatic.
He didn't want to be here, bro. He didn't want to be here.
Yeah, but whether he did want to be here or not, the point I'm making is he would have stayed. He would have stayed until the end of the season. Okay, because they wanted to keep him to the end of the season and then let him go. Yeah, because the thing is, though, if they wanted to let him go, they would have got him rid of him a long time ago. I'm sorry. The only reason why? Because
why does that? Sorry, I just need to. I need that to make sense to me.
I think for me, okay, it is quite clear. We all understand. We all agree with this, actually, in that sense, that there was disconnect between the two of them. You could see it because Conte was telling us this already. Okay, the only reason why it's now happened for what it happened and Conte left is because since that rant, okay, there was no going back. There was absolutely no going back.
Yeah,
right, and that was the thing. So for me, I think he still would, because the thing is, though, why you kept Stellini for? That's the thing. That's why I said in my video.
Well, that's why, and that's where I self-own my own. I'll like, before anyone throws mud, I'll take the mud and I'll spat myself in the face with it. I believed that it was as steady as she goes until the end of the season. I was happy if Daniel Levy and his team of stooges were going to sit back and go, all right, let's not air our dirty laundry in public like they did before. When it came to Gattuso and Fonseca and that whole shit show that was just embarrassing. This time around, Conte had made he'd laid his bed, right? He wasn't interested. then he said what he said. The decision had to happen. Fine. And I was like, okay, if you're in that kind of weird spot with 10 games to go, who's going to really join? I'm okay. In my mind, I thought, I'm okay with Stellini, because in my mind, I thought Stellini, without the shackles on the players, it worked well for a little bit for that period when Conte had his gallbladder out. But now Stellini without the Conte shackles on Stellini, we're going to see something different. And I was absolutely idiotic to think, in hindsight, in retrospect, that Stellini
was naive.
Yeah, I was massively naive, and that's where I'll own it. But everything else, like I don't.
Can I make a point about Conte? Yeah. Look, I see a lot of this now. Like, people are coming into my chat saying things like, "You've got what you deserve. Conte's been sacked." First of all, I just want to say, these shit show of performances we're seeing under Stellini were exactly the same under Conte.
Yeah, nothing would be
so.
Different.
First of all, nothing's changed, right?
Nothing's
so this
changed.
isn't. Oh, you've got what you deserve. It was this before, and it still is this, right? So first of all, we've got to stop doing that whole, well, Conte's gone and it's fallen to pieces. It was falling to pieces a long time ago.
Yeah.
Second of all, I've said this so many times, I'm bored of hearing myself say it. This whole Conte getting sacked, Conte literally was asking to be sacked for months. Everything about his behaviour, everything about his outbursts, constantly going back to Italy for this, for that, not around during the international breaks. And more than that, the one point that I've brought up for 18 months that always goes over everybody's heads during arguments about Conte, the contract was for 18 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, we have to stop talking as though Spurs fans have hounded out a guy who had 5 years left on his contract and was going to build something. The guy has an 18-month average tenure throughout his managerial career. Why are people so surprised he didn't last long?
No,
Why?
I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised he left. He didn't last long. But for me, before that ran, I think he was going to be here to the end of the season, because I didn't see him getting sacked. I didn't see him getting sacked anytime soon. Because if they did have because I think the ran came at a time where it was just not expected. You see what I'm saying?
Didn't it come at a time when he wasn't very well?
I know.
Have you guys looked into the average gallbladder operation takes about? I know someone down my street who's an Arsenal fan who sees me doing my walks every day, and he says to me, this is back in January or February. He said, "Why is Conte still off sick?" And I went, "What do you mean?" He went, "I had my gallbladder out 2 years ago. I had the operation on the Monday. I was back at work on the Wednesday."
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But the point I'm making,
it sounds like a major op, but apparently it's not. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about his medical thing, because that's not what.
But Alex, couldn't that be a reason though? Like I feel like the reason Stellini is here and Conte has gone, I think there's a lot more to his illness, because at the end, the last month, he looked poorly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Savva, I can't make any comment on that. Okay, I can only talk about the football. I'm only going to talk about the football, because it's not fair for me to comment on his health. Okay, because that's not my business. Okay, I respect it, but I appreciate it, but I can't talk about his. I can only talk about the football side. Okay, and for me, I didn't see Tottenham sacking him. Okay, the only reason why they sacked him was because of the rant. Okay, I think he would have gone at the end of the season 110%. Savva, I meet you halfway on this. I absolutely meet you halfway. I'm not disagreeing with you completely. No, you are making a good point there. But my point is, the club didn't look like they were going to sack him, and hence why they've got Stellini in. Because if they had a plan, go and get your manager right now.
But what if the
manager right now?
Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's play devil's advocate here, right? And just quickly before I do that, I am going to read this out. Stephanie, Savva doesn't hate Conte. Savva said from day, I shouldn't talk about myself in the third person. I said from day one, right? Pete will tell you, he's known me the longest of everyone here. Percy, you've known me a while now as well. Everyone will tell you, I've said this all along. I don't hate Conte. Conte was just never a right fit for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And if anyone couldn't see that, it's baffling, right? And just quickly, but jumping on from that, Duncan's Dog said, question for Sav, what would it take Conte to want to stay longer? It would take for us to be Chelsea, Juventus or Inter Milan, a club that are ready to win trophies and can buy the best players in the world. And this is why, all linking in with what Stephanie said, this is why I said from day one, Conte's not going to work at Tottenham. We've seen it with Jose. These serial winners win now. They don't go into clubs and say, you know what? I reckon in 4 years I can build something there. They go into clubs and go, can I win something in a year? And that's what he's done everywhere he's been. So it baffles me when people keep talking about, oh, Conte's gone, you've got what you deserve. What? I've got the same bad football now that I had under Conte. I've got the same bad results now that we had under Conte. And for me, this season's done. I don't know what you guys think. This season's done.
Sam, the season was done a month ago. I said after we got knocked out of the FA Cup and after we got knocked out of the Champions, I went, doesn't matter now. We could go and win the rest of our games, or we could lose the rest of the game. It's kind of irrelevant. And anyone that sort of sits there and says, "Oh, about Champions League," you know my thoughts. Don't care if we finish in the Champions League. For me, I think if we finished in the Champions League, I don't think we will now at all. I think it completely papers over a cracks of an absolute shocking season. And I think just to sort of just chime in on my 50 pence on the whole Conte and Stellini thing, I think it was probably Conte that said, look, I'm not going to stay on anymore. I'm going to go. We'll class it as a mutual consent is what it was. It wasn't a sacking. It probably was, but it's we'll do it politely, publicly, and I'll let my assistant stay in charge until the end of the season, until you get someone in as a parting gesture, so to speak. But let's be honest, did anyone? And then when everyone and just to sort of continue on what you said, Savva, about when people go, look what you've got at the end. People have been saying it to me. You wanted Conte gone. Now you get what you deserve. What? Because his assistant manager is in charge. It doesn't make any sense. We've just got Conte here without Conte being here.
Can I just say as well, look, I think when we talk about we should have just hired someone, what if, Alex, the plan is for a Poch? What if the plan is a Brendan Rodgers? What if the plan is a Enrique? But what if all of these managers have said, cool, yeah, we'll take the job, but there's no way I'm starting in April. There's no way I'm starting in April when Spurs have nothing to play for. Yeah, I will start at the beginning of the summer. Have we ever thought about that?
I think you can that's a good point, but then maybe have that organised for that, organised now, then for the end of the season.
They might have, right?
Or maybe announce that or something like that. I don't know. I think for me, at the moment, I just don't see a plan. I've got very bad vibes of that summer when we were 72 days without a manager.
You're a Spurs fan. Of course you've got bad vibes. We've all got the same bad vibes, Alex. But my point is this. Even if they know who the manager is going to be for next season, yeah, if it is a manager that is in a job somewhere else, they're not going to announce it now. For example, if it is Vincent Kompany, I'm just sitting here, right? If it's Vincent Kompany who is in a title race with Burnley, yeah, they're promoted, but he's still, I don't think they've mathematically won the league yet.
Pete's last bottom choice, by the way.
Right, but if it is Vincent Kompany, they're not going to announce with Burnley having 5 or 6 games left in the Championship to win a title. They're not going to announce it now. By the way, Vincent Kompany's taking over in the summer. I don't look. I think you're probably right, Alex. It's probably a complete mess, and they probably don't know who it is.
Especially with Strategy, they still don't even know what's going to happen with Strategy, which again is. It's shocking for me because you know my thoughts on this guy.
But they might know that as well. We don't. The problem is
the first outcome of that is supposed to happen on Tuesday, isn't it? On the 19th of April, we're going to find out if there's the. Sorry, Pete, what was that?
Yeah, the 19th of April.
Yeah, 19th. I think you get the civil case or whatever it is that's going to be adjudicated on for the appeal, and then even if whatever happens there, you've still got the criminal case to come. So for me personally, I think that.
Listen,
I hate comments like this, right? Because that isn't what I said at all. That isn't what I said at all, right? So when people do that, these are the sort of things that then get clipped and other people then mock you for it. What I'm saying is we don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate. My job here as the host of the show isn't for me to just go, yeah, it's crap, everything's crap. It's to raise some questions and some theories and try and get some conversation going. What I'm saying is they might know who the manager is. They might not know who the manager is, and they're still in conversations with managers or agents or stuff. So please don't. Sorry, Pete. Go on. I hate when I'm misquoted. I hate
I know
that.
what you're saying, but on Conte, I always said he won't see out the season. Now, anyone doubts that? When I had a channel, the videos are still up. When it's how long ago it was. Yeah, go and watch it. I said, "There's no way this geezer finishes the season." And this was
You said it all season.
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah, it just wasn't right. Yeah, after the summer window, it was set in stone for me. It was just a question of when, not if. Yeah, and then the World Cup came along. Anything that was going to happen that was going to make him stay would have been done then. It wasn't.
Agreed.
Conte had checked out, and over the time he checked out more mentally because obviously he had some personal problems, friends dying, all that. That's all sad. Yeah, that affects anyone. And that's without having to work at Tottenham, which is a strain in itself. Yeah. And he escalated all those rants. They just went from, they just escalated until he made it possible that they basically had to get rid of him and they had to do something. He was desperate to get out of the job. Yeah. And now Stellini has followed the same playbook when he's sorting the players after this game. Yeah. So, and all we got really is Conte went back to Italy and then Stellini.
His shadow remained, right? His shadow remained.
Conte just plugged his control pad in, and then he's controlling Stellini. Exactly the same.
And the only reason we went to a back four was because his attempt to switch up the back five.
He ran out of centre backs to bring on. That was what that was.
And he screwed up massively.
He's crap. He should be it. He should be in the job. He should be in the job.
We've got to bring Sanchez on, but we know how terrible he is at the left. He's not quite as terrible on the right. But let's take someone who plays.
Oh, listen, his decision in the club.
It was the biggest mud ever. I know we're going to talk about Sanchez, but for me personally, if you're going to boo him, you know what? I'll wait. I'll wait until. Yeah, sorry, I'll wait.
Shut up, man.
All right, mate.
Get 20 quid out, yeah?
I got your 20 quid for you, bro. Yeah. I didn't know I owed it. Now I know I owe it. I'm going to put it on Perch's charity stream. Yeah, but I've got to go through this.
Yeah, his decision since Everton, the Everton game, should have been the writing on the wall then. Way he reacted to when we were playing Everton after it went down to 10 men and the rest of the shit show that followed. But we also have, we talk about getting the new manager and all that. As Sean said, and I agree with him, it's like if we just got someone in who was available just like that, flavour of the month all of a sudden, then there's no plan. Then the people who wanted a plan say, well, we haven't done a plan. And there's no really easy way out or obvious solution.
Levy's doomed either way.
I agree. We've also got, I say, Paratici's job is to manage the football side. Yeah, yes, he's currently suspended, but there's no one stepped into that position. Scott Munn doesn't start till June. He's not allowed to start till I think it's June the 1st or something like that, or July the 1st even. All these people need to have a say.
Right? Is that true? Is it?
Yeah, he's not working at the club yet. He's on gardening leave at his current at the City Group.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting.
His contract, yeah. Okay. I heard that.
Yeah.
It was a View from the Lane podcast with Danny Kane and all that lot. And the Athletic boys, they said it, yeah. So he's not started his job yet. All him and Paratici, that has to get sorted. They all have a say in the manager, unless Levy's going to take all them out of the game and go, right, I've made the decision for you. I'm going to go and do something, and then you're going to get a job, and then you've got to run with it, whatever I've done. So I can't see it being anytime soon. But if there was a plan, it should have been put in, sort of the ball looking at it from Christmas or the World Cup, because it was obvious then what was coming. But they still cannot manage or talk about a manager while he's in another job. If it is someone who's employed, if it is someone who isn't employed, and then we've not Nagelsmann, because obviously that's just rush. Say we go for Poch, I believe we should have got him in already. Yeah, that's just me. They're like, well, look at the squad. I know you know most of them anyway, but then have it's a free hit for 8 games. Go and have a look. But
the other variable though is that again, and this is again back to the point of Daniel Levy's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he signs a manager now, even if a manager's available like Poch, and I'm put aside the opportunistic signing that everyone wanted Nagelsmann. Why hasn't he acted on Nagelsmann well, you would have criticised him for not having a plan.
Rodgers is still under contract. He's been put on garden leave as well. He's not just been removed.
Even if he acted on Poch, who was available and not under contract, then the same people who hate Daniel Levy would say we haven't got a working director of football. Right, the director of football is on and of himself on gardening leave, and therefore, if Pochettino is the guy, and Paratici is not allowed to work, because remember that the timing of it, right? Conte left 2 days later. FIFA, for whatever reason, decided to expedite the timeline for that ban. And by the way, if on Tuesday, I think it's unlikely, but if on Tuesday they do overturn the decision in Italy, FIFA are in the mud, and you better believe Daniel Levy is going to litigate that like within an inch of his life. He's going to go after FIFA for stopping Paratici from doing his job before the appeal process was finished. And so again, my point being that Daniel Levy's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I'm not defending him here, but I'm just saying that if you've got a director of football that you put on gardening leave, and then you've got Pochettino that's available, but you then make that decision, the same people that hate him for whatever he does are going to turn around and say, well, there you go. More evidence that Daniel Levy doesn't go through that. He does what he wants. He doesn't need a director of football. And so now, Tottenham caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And he's also got the thing where he's like, for Daniel Levy, top four is everything. And by not doing nothing, he's massively put that at risk. That's gone now for me anyway. Yeah. But for him,
he's screwed either way, isn't he? He might want to make a decision. If he makes a lot
to blame for, though. You keep.
I know he has. I know Daniel Levy's got to blame for.
You've got to take everything.
I'm not defending Daniel Levy.
Every situation on its merit.
Yeah,
in this case,
I'm not defending Levy, Alex.
No, I agree with Sean. You've got to take every situation in its merit, and in this case, he can't really. He's like, what do we do? And there's Paratici. If his job to hire the manager. Daniel Levy's doing that for him, then he got a case for it, and he leaves because he goes, "Well, I didn't get."
So you've got no Paratici. Paratici's not available. Scott Munn, and what Pete's saying is true. I believe him. Scott Munn's not available, right? And certain managers are still on gardening leave. Daniel Levy's sitting there with a plethora of options that he might want to take. Whichever angle he goes in, he's in the mud because certain people are going to accuse him of doing the job of other people.
You're missing the point a little bit. Don't employ Paratici then. Don't employ.
You can't do nothing about that now. You can't.
But the point I'm making, you put himself in that situation. You know what I mean? You know.
But he didn't know.
If you did your research on these people. Okay, because you should have done your due diligence on this person already, Paratici, that there was problems there already.
I agree with that.
That's the point I'm making. If you put yourself in that situation,
how was he supposed to know?
That's why you're in the situation at the moment.
Alex, you're speculating, mate. You're speculating
But Sean, I'm not this Sean. You can say whatever you want, but the fact is, you are going to be judged on the decisions that you are making.
Of course.
Okay, so you have to. I can look at it from 2 points of view. Okay, he's damned if he does. He doesn't. I see what you're saying, but don't put yourself in that situation.
With regards
to Mourinho, he's done it for Mourinho.
Hang on, Alex.
Let me finish my point. Because I've listened to you, and I'm finishing you right now. Go on then, and then I'll finish it off. Go on then.
All right, mate. Yeah, just give me a second, because your point is based on this assumption that Daniel Levy hired Paratici and should have known about the investigation, right? And the timelines do not add up. The timelines don't. I don't care what the Athletic, who by the way have got a massive hard-on for Daniel Levy and go after him. The timeline does not add up. Daniel Levy hired Paratici in June of 2021. It wasn't until October or November of 2021 when the investigation was announced. And the investigation is not announced. It was announced by the prosecutor, the prosecution. The chief prosecution officer in Italy. That guy and his team, if they had raided the offices of Juventus to get hold of all the details, all the documents that then become part of the process, that would have leaked out long before the 6 months You can take your notes all you want, bro. But listen, you're not going to be able to. You're not like there was a 6-month gap between when Daniel Levy hired him and when the investigation was opened up. There is absolutely no logic to the idea that Daniel Levy should have known about Paratici's troubles. And if he's supposed to be a mind reader, fine. If Paratici lied to Daniel Levy, then and Daniel Levy bought it, fine, right? Maybe he's a mug. But this assumption that Daniel Levy, who is the least pro-risk director of football, or the least pro-risk chairman in all of the Premier League, do you actually believe that Daniel Levy would jeopardize the reputation and the scope of Tottenham Hotspur by hiring a guy who had all this mud in the air about him? If you actually believe that Daniel Levy, of all chairmen, would take that risk, then I'm sorry, I just don't agree with you. Like, Daniel Levy is the least pro-risk guy in the world, and to think that he would have known about what Daniel Paratici had going on in the background, and then say, I'm going to hire you anyway and roll the dice, it just does not stack up with any of the other decisions or any of the other behaviour that Daniel Levy has ever demonstrated as a chairman of Tottenham.
Sean,
So I don't believe it.
Sean, I will say, I did read at the time about Paratici that there was there could be an investigation coming. I'm not going to lie, am I?
Okay. I'm asking. Yeah, I'm asking.
I did read at the time that there could be something coming down the line for him because there was an investigation. I know the investigation was launched after, but
6 months later,
investigation can take a while to actually be launched, but everyone knows it's coming. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete. You've done it for me. You've done it for me. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete. Thank you.
I've done a series of 7 videos on
Thank you very much, Pete.
I've done 7 videos on it. I can't find anything that ties up with the timeline.
I can't remember where I read it. And I've got no reason to say otherwise.
I know.
I did read somewhere at the time that there could be something coming down the line with him. Now, is whether listen, that could be true or untrue, I don't know. But I'm saying I saw it. Yeah. Now, whether Levy thought that's nothing, yeah, and then it turned into something bigger because more evidence came out when it was investigated, who knows? But all I'm saying is I did see that at the time. That hang on a minute, we could, and I think it could have even been
it would stagger me. It would stagger me beyond belief.
It's quite simple. It's quite simple. He should have known already. You do your due diligence on everybody, right? And he should have done his due diligence on Mourinho. Okay, he went for him. He went for him straight away. He didn't do what he wanted. Look what happened. He didn't do due diligence on a strategy. Look what's happened now.
What due diligence on Mourinho?
What are you talking about, Alex?
The fact is, because he wanted to do, because from what I see, for what it went wrong with Mourinho, is that I think what he expected is him to come in and do, try and make, carry on the work that Poch did, but do it their way. Okay, everyone knows. And I think even Terry Flewis has told you this already, Savva. I think you would know this already. I think you would know this already, knowing you. You can't do. Mourinho doesn't do your way.
Savva, keep that there. Keep that there. I'd like to answer that. If that's okay. Oh, sorry, the one after that from Jacob. Sorry.
You don't do it your way. You don't do it our way. You do it his way, and that's it. That's the only way it works. You know what I mean?
Okay, so can I ask you a question then? So I agree with you, Alex. This is the problem. All of these things, they're moving parts, right? I agree with you, right? I don't think it's about doing the due diligence of Jose Mourinho. I think everyone in world football knows what Jose Mourinho is and isn't. But for me, where Levy made, obviously, I feel he's made a lot of mistakes. I think where Levy made the biggest mistakes with Jose Mourinho and with Antonio Conte were they weren't the right fit for Spurs, but what they were at the time is they pacified, if that's the right word, the fan base. So you had Poch, who was look, I mean, there's people 4 or 5 years still can't stop talking about Pochettino, right? They've got rid of Poch. The manager that comes in then couldn't be another Poch. The manager that comes in has to be right. Well, why have we sacked Poch? Oh, we've gone and got the third most successful manager of all time, or whatever he is, right? Cool, I get it. Nuno goes, it's the same thing. It's like, It's not worked with Nuno. What are we going to do? Because if at that point he had gone and got a Potter, a Rodgers, a company, whoever, blah, 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 people would have gone again, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So he brings in Conte, who again is a serial winning manager. Now, the problem, as I've said time and time again, when you bring in those managers, yeah, what was the hope for them? Yeah, because Spurs fans just say, back him. And we always say this word back him is very subjective. If it's true that Conte, for example, only wanted Bastoni and Vardial, oh my God, Levy's dreadful because he didn't back him. Well, that's not ever going to happen, right? So I agree with you, Alex, yeah? Levy has to take accountability for every single decision he makes at the football club. The same way every manager has to take accountability for every time they set up a team and every substitution they make. But what we've got to do is we've got to make sure it's fair. Because what we can't do is turn around and say, and by the way, this is someone right here who wants Levy to go, right? Don't believe what other people tell you. I do not like.
You know, I'm not going to have a go. I know you're.
No, I know, Alex. Alex, but this is my point, right? This is my point, right? I don't want Daniel Levy to be there, but this is why I said throughout the season, when people when you get comments like this, right? When you get comments like this that are very sarcastic, and that's all cool, right? You're allowed to blame multiple people for different things, right? So Daniel Levy takes the blame for me for everything that happens at the football club. Of course he does. He's the man that runs it.
Does he also get the credit for all the things that are good about the football club?
Hang on, I'll come to that in a minute, Sean. But at the moment, if we're placing blame, so then I say, right, who else are the main men at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club? All right, the main men, Paratici is the director of football. So now I have to look at what Paratici's done and go, you've done terribly as well, my friend. You've made this mistake, that mistake, this mistake, blah, blah, blah. Now you have to look at the trio, because the golden trio is going to be the CEO, the director of football, and the manager. But the problem is, if in the last year anyone dares criticize Antonio Conte as manager, it's everything's on Daniel Levy. Now, overarching, yes, but we're allowed to, everyone's got to take a little slice of the blame, right? When we're talking about things. So yesterday's game, like this comment here, and I'll call this out. It's all Conte's fault. Oh, wait, he got sacked. It's all backfire's fault. Oh, wait, we went to a back four. I'll stop right there. Oh, wait, we went to a back four for 30 minutes of a game that we were losing, right? And then people use that as a justification to say that Conte didn't do anything wrong.
Do you know what, Savva, though? He makes
staggering.
There is a little bit of a point there that half the fan base were Conte out, right? And then as soon as Conte got sacked, within 2 days, the amount of people then pivoted to Levy because Conte was no longer a stick that was battable, right? It was weird to me. I remember doing a video on it. I was like, it's palpable how people are looking for the whatever, like the toy to hit the stick with. And the second that Conte's gone, a load of those people that were Conte out have now turned their attentions elsewhere. Like there always needs to be someone to smack. There always needs to be someone to hit. And when Conte was there, it was on him to some people. And the second that he's gone, shit, I can't blame him anymore. Now I've got to pivot elsewhere.
Yeah, but Sean, unfortunately, it's his decisions that have to be questioned at the end of the day, right? And unfortunately, this is where you fall down. You're saying, well, why is he going back to Levy? Because it does go back to Levy. The only reason why I don't always talk about it, I go back to what Savva's saying. I can't always blame him for what's going on the pitch. No, because the manager is responsible. Yes.
When you say I fall down, what do you mean?
The reason why the manager's in charge is because of Levy, because he made the ultimate decision to appoint the manager 100%. When he clearly wasn't a right fit already. Okay. And he's done that for the last 20 years. Okay. And that 22 years, whatever it is. So
can I ask you a question, Alex? Sorry, can I ask you a question? With the whole, okay. So we've got to be really careful with that conversation there. When Antonio Conte was hired, most of this fan base wet themselves.
Yeah, but I wasn't the same. Right?
No. I'm not saying you, Alex. I'm just taking most of this fan base wet themselves. Serial winner. This guy's coming in. He's the better version of Jose Mourinho. He will put Levy in his place, right? At that time, everyone was loving it. Then, right? Then, when it doesn't quite go to plan, it's all on Levy. For me, yeah. Listen, again, it's hard to have this conversation because people.
I
start
agree
thinking
with you.
I'm
I agree with
out.
you. This is the thing.
But-
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. We've agreed that we've
We
did this a long time.
we all would like Levy to leave. We all would like Levy to leave, but there's different levels of how it's based. Me personally, all I worry about is whether the next guy that comes in is going to keep the club sustainable. And I think that personally, with the current market economically, and I know that a lot of you guys, maybe you do, maybe you don't care about that stuff, but I personally do have a vested interest and forgive me for saying it, but an education in that stuff. I personally think with the economic environment right now, getting someone to leverage debt on the club would be an absolute disaster. And also, you look at people like Todd Bowley. Like, would anyone rather Todd Bowley be be the chairman of our club right now with his track record in the last year?
At the moment, I'm not really fussed about Chelsea. I mean, honestly, at the moment, I think for me, we have to see what happens next season with them. You know what I mean? It does look like a bit of a disaster at the moment.
It looks absolute shambles, mate. It's a shambles.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
But I can't look down on them.
Hang on, Savva. Maybe not with regards to what they do. No, with regards to what happens on the pitch, but what happens off the pitch, the amount of leverage debt that they have with the interest rates going up. I did a video on it already. The short-term leverage debt that they've got. America are going to have to raise their interest rates again, and they got their debt in US dollars, right? So, like, I'm sorry, they may or may not figure out with the players that they bought. To me, Todd Bowley is better the devil you know or better the devil you don't. I don't know. For me, right now, there's a massive question mark above that. Manchester United might get bought by a sovereign wealth fund. So be it. Fair enough. But for me personally, we all want Daniel Levy to move on. For me personally, though. It depends on who's the next guy off the next cab off the rank.
I think that it's the same for owners as it is for managers and it is for players. I think even if a new owner comes in, which is the dream for a lot of us, I feel like unless they've managed a football club successfully before, or owned a football club successfully before, it's going to take time. And I think you're seeing that with Chelsea, right? You're seeing that with Chelsea now. Yeah, the guy's got loads of money. And yeah, I do think they will get it right in the end.
Mate. It's not his money.
No, whoever's money it is, they've got loads of money. Chelsea is a football club. My point is this: whoever comes in, it's going to be a learning curve. So I think lots of people, once Levy and Enoch do sell up, whether that's this year, next year, 10 years, I think we've then not got to expect that the new owner that comes in overnight, all of a sudden we go to champagne football, winning trophies, winning leagues. It's still going to be a process. Right. Look, I want to move away from the Levy conversation because honestly, it really does get very, very, very tiring. Instead, I'd like Pete to talk us through.
The man himself.
Here we go.
I would like Pete to talk us through. So for anybody that missed this, and actually, before I do this, let's keep some suspense there. Before I do this, I've got some super chats to read out. Blunderbeat Coys has come in again, very generous. Thank you very much. And said the club should seek foreign investment simply to afford to rip up the contracts of all the deadwood on the club books. Reset needed. Faults, guys. Well, yeah, I think we kind of just covered all of that, Blunderbeat. But even then, you've got to, you'd have to have very generous owners that come in and the first thing they do is go, right, these 20 players here, rip up the contract, out you go. But in theory, I like it. I just don't know if it's practical. Crocodox, thank you, very, very generous super chat. Thank you, bro. Said Ali Gold said that Spurs knew about the investigation and took the risk. It's another Levy sees a big name error. Same will happen with Mum because he is City Group. City would have kept him if he's that good. Listen, I guess with this, with the Scott Mum part, it's going to be, look, we'll wait and see because he's not even at the football club yet. With the Paratici part, I'm sure more will come out about this once he goes. Or if
I'm wrong about it. If I'm wrong about it, then so be it. I'll be in the mud.
Yeah. It's fine.
I couldn't find anything that suggested that he knew. Oh no, I own my mistakes all the time. Yeah.
Yep. By the way, Jose Mourinho's AS Roma are now third and 5 points clear of fifth. It's going to get them Champions League. And Bill said Redknapp, Pochettino and Ramos were all in jobs when Levy appointed them. This narrative we can't get managers who are currently employed is crap. for me, I would ask you, Redknapp, Poch and Ramos, did any of them join with 8 games of a season left to go?
That's the point, isn't it?
This is the problem. You're asking if it's a manager that's at a club, and as I said before, if it's Vincent Kompany, for example, let's say it's Arnie Slot, for example, do you think those clubs are going to entertain the idea of losing their manager at the business end of the season? For me, I think it's going to be someone that's in a job. That's just my feeling. But talking about managers, for anyone that didn't know, Pete, and keep subscribing, keep liking, thank you. Pete said
You have to do it for this.
His favourite choice for manager, am I right in saying that, Pete?
Yeah,
for the Spurs job, was this guy. Talk us through it, Pete. Talk us through it. Let's all have a laugh. Talk us through it.
Conversation last week. I'd have to wait again.
Because it's great fun, and you know he's now. I think
he's growing on me as an option. By the way,
I think he's second favourite, if I'm not wrong, with the bookies.
Who's favourite?
I think it was Poch. Like it depends which bookies you look at. So if anyone wants to have a look now, I'm going to ask you this, Pete. Would you take Rodgers over Poch?
Yes.
Why?
Moment, yeah.
Just why? For anyone that missed it last week.
Why? Because most of the players that were under Poch before are still there. A lot of them. So why do you want to keep going that? I think it's too soon for Poch, personally. But I won't be upset if he comes back. He comes back. But for me, I don't think enough time's passed for him. And it's been 4 years, but he's had one job since he left the club, and he went to PSG. Yeah, and he had some problems there. I don't think he's done enough since, gone all round a bit. And let's be honest, what is the point? It's so soon. I think we need to get through a whole new squad, and then maybe I do want him to come back one day and finish what he started. But for now, I don't think now's not the time for me. Other people think differently. Fair enough.
Yeah, and then in terms of Brendan Rodgers, listen, I'm only busting your balls.
No,
because
this
is a very real possibility, by the way. Whether or not I want him, you want him, or whoever doesn't want him, I didn't say I want him, by the way, but this is a very real possibility. And what did I say to you, Pete, last week? I get the feeling this is right up Daniel Levy's street.
It is. He is the most practical.
Are you flip-flopping back into him, Savva?
Send him a pair of shorts.
Flip-flop.
Yeah. He's the most.
See you later.
He is the most practical option at the moment in terms of where we are. We are an absolute basket case of a club at the moment. Yeah. The bare minimum for us. People think we need to go from where we are now to start winning trophies. It's nuts. No chance.
I agree.
Yeah?
I agree.
So what we need is someone who's going to come in. He's not going to want tons of money, and he's very good at. You give him a selection of players, and he'll get them playing decent football, attacking decent football. Which is, let's be honest, we have been starved to death of that. So there's other managers might be able to do it, but I think you know what you get with him because he's done it everywhere he's gone. He's gone into a club and they've started playing attacking football. Tell me a team he's managed that plays shit football. None of them. Forget about results now and again. Yeah, there's different reasons for that. But Swansea, he was very good. They played very good stuff. And then he goes to Liverpool, nearly wins the league. Leicester, he had a cut of brush to win the Champions League, wins the FA Cup, has a few injury problems. Now they've had financial problems. And he was there too long. And they're in a bit of a transition themselves. So he comes into Spurs. He does use academy players. He does use younger players. And he's one of them managers that will find creative solutions to problems we've got rather than just saying, well, I need a world-class centre-back. I need a world-class holding midfielder. And he's never going to get it. So for where we are, that's where I think is the most logical choice.
Yeah, I mean, guys, anyone else... Look, we've talked about this a lot, right? So I'm just looking at the next manager odds. So if I go to the next manager odds, let me bring this screen up so we can see. Right, here we go, guys. Right, so I'll share this screen just so before we carry on that conversation. Present, where are we? Share screen. There we are. Tottenham next manager odds. Can you all see that?
It's coming. There we go.
So there we go. So Vincent Kompany is the favourite with the bookies, followed by Brendan Rodgers, followed by Poch. And they're the three I said, didn't I, all week? It's going to be between those three for me. It's definitely going to be between those three. And then you got Potter coming in down below at 6-1. Look, guys, what does anyone else make on a serious note about Perchy? Let me come to you on a serious note about Brendan Rodgers, because look, this is becoming a very real. This is becoming a reality that it could be. He looks like he's one of the favourites to land the job. One, what do you think of it? And two, is this going to be one of those decisions which absolutely divides this already massively divided fan base?
Yeah, nope, you're bang on there. It will be massively divisive. I'm in the camp with you there. I think it's very much a Daniel Levy appointment if we get some Brendan Rodgers. Just to sort of go on a bit and stuff with, I think if the Pochettino one was going to be done, I said it would have been done already. Everyone sort of wants it to happen. I think if it was going to happen, it would have been done already. So it kind of, for me, doesn't make any sense that it's not happened. So for me, I don't see it happening. I don't see why he would be one of those managers that goes, I'll wait till the end of the season. Yeah. So for me, if that was going to happen, it would have had to be literally the day after Conte got sacked, we'd have announced that Pochettino's manager. So for me, discounting that for a second, Company was the other one. I've said for a very long time that I would have had Vincent Kompany. Said a long time. I said, I look at what he's done at Burnley, and he's completely changed the culture at Burnley over a season, bringing young talent from his links in Belgium and Man City. So why couldn't he go and do that at Spurs? So I don't see why not. But again, manager like that needs to be long term. And yeah, as I said, was it Brendan Rodgers? For me, I don't want him, but it makes very much sense why he would end up being in charge. It kind of it shouldn't fit, but it weirdly does in a really terrible way. And Pete's not liking what I'm saying, but someone just put there, Nagelsmann was what I said, but I think, again, another one that I feel like I have a feeling with someone like Nagelsmann will just wait until the right job comes for him. Why would he come to Tottenham? He's a young manager that could go and get a big job. He got the Bayern Munich job. So realistic terms, I don't see it happening. But again, would have him there anyway as well.
Alex, talk to me. Brendan Rodgers, look, seasoned manager, won the FA Cup, knows the Premier League, free agent. Is this could this be a masterstroke by Levy, or is this going to absolutely set? Is this going to set a kind of abusive load of content on him? What do you think?
I think it'd be very underwhelming, but I've said it before. The managers that have been successful have been underwhelming under Tottenham. Like, for instance, Martin Jol, for instance, no one knew that he was going to be successful, relatively successful for the time frame that Tottenham were, because we weren't doing anything before then. Because we were looking for someone like Trapattoni, and we didn't get him, and we had Santini, didn't we? And he went after 13 games. Harry Redknapp, no one thought he was going to be successful at the rate that he was, even though he had the biggest enthusiasm and he won the FA Cup with Portsmouth. And Pochettino, I wanted Frank de Boer initially, and Louis van Gaal was touted for the job as well. So I think for me, yeah, you know, he could grow on Tottenham fan base. The only thing I would say is, though, and I'll say this about Pochettino, even though I've said on my channel, Mr. Box Office TV already, I've said it on the channel, I've got a video on it already, I said I wanted Pochettino. I'm concerned, and I'm going to maybe look like a flip-flop by saying this as well, because I'm hearing the fans saying they want Pochettino back. I don't want him at the moment now, because I think this is where I have my thoughts on Rodgers. It's the same with Rodgers and Pochettino. For me, there has to be conditions for them to come in, for them to be successful for me. Because again, with the coaching ability of Rodgers, I don't think he's going to get a tune out of certain players still. And I still think he needs to get rid of some of certain players for him to move forward. Because
But that's every manager will have that problem. Every manager.
That's what I'm meaning. That's what I'm trying to say, Pete. That's what I'm trying to say, Pete. You see what I'm saying? So I feel
Rodgers is probably the least demanding because he will go, well, I work with what I've got, and then we'll go right. Then
that's the problem. That's the problem I have with the situation at the moment, because with the expectations of Tottenham fans, I think they're thinking, okay, he can get the best out of these players. Oh, Kane's going to stay because, you know, we're going to go again for Champions League again. You see what I'm saying? And for me, if you're going to bring in a manager like that, you've got to start all over again. You know what I mean? For me, that's what I feel. You know, for us to move forward. Because
Alex, ain't we there anyway? We've got to start again. But we can't just start again where the manager just goes the whole squad out and new squad in. It's not going to happen.
No, but I'm saying gradually. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying gradually. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying gradually. You see what I'm saying? Because
if we want long term, Rodgers is very good at getting younger players for the long term and making them into better.
That's why I'm saying. So it has to be long term. Gradually, it going. You know, you're doing it. But this is the thing. This is where the conversation has to be with the club, and I think this is what's interesting. We were linked with Ten Hag, before the whole debacle with the manager, and we didn't rejected him because he wanted certain things. Okay.
No, apparently because they struggled with English. That was why Daniel Levy didn't want him.
Well, I think there's other things as well, because from what I see from Manchester United's point of view, he's getting what he wants at Manchester United. Okay. Yes, he's not got all the players he wants, but they understand that they've got to follow his lead. You know what I mean? And that's why you're seeing the fruits of what's happening at the moment at Manchester United. I think this is exactly what, and we just keep on saying it, Brighton. You know what I mean? That's exactly what Tottenham should be doing right now. Okay. And we're going to go through some pain, like the Arsenal, going 8th, 8th, and 5th. Okay. But if you want long-term success,
short-term pain, long-term gain.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been saying that.
Alex, can I just say, and this is a point I want to bring up to everyone. I think what's really, really important with this fan base now is that we can have Levy out, Levy in debates. We can have Conte out, Conte in debates, Paratici, all that, and Dier's crap and Sanchez this, and they've all got to go. I think what we've got to do is the next manager that comes in, what we can't do is, if we do want someone that's going to build, right, what we can't do is the first sign of it not going well, that we all want the manager out. I think what we can't do, right? I think what we can't do with that. Good. Well, yeah, but if you can see what they're trying to, to do,
give me good football and I'm happy,
right? Yeah. But what I think we've got to be really careful of as well is we can't have a divided fan base again, where the moment a manager does something bad, it's, oh, well, we got rid of Conte for this. Or do you know what I mean? Or I think we've got
to there's always going to be a divided fan base.
I agree. I can't say that. You still got fans moaning about Poch. You've got fans moaning about Conte.
You got people telling lies, and people in the comments right now telling,
No, it's fine. So I don't want to go there. I really don't want to go there, please. I really don't want to go there. Look, all I'm saying is, I, for one, as a fan, I'm happy knowing that if a new manager comes in, like a Vincent Kompany, right, like a Michael Carrick, whoever it may be, that this manager is someone clicking their mouse, by the way.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah, sorry, it's really loud. Sorry, mate. Is that we need to get behind them, and we need to realise that short-term pain for long-term gain needs to suffice. And like you said earlier, Pete, you hit the nail on the head with this. There's too many people that want a win-now manager that think they're going to come in and transform this club to win a trophy in a year. It's not going to happen. It's going to take time. And if we use the Arsenal model for an example, look at this 11 that Arteta has put together over 4 years, compared to probably the first game when he took over, I would probably argue that there's not one player the same.
I think Xhaka is probably the only one, right?
Okay, Xhaka. There you go. Then you look at the rest of it and you think Arsenal had to have 8th, 5th. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the title, but 8th, 5th. Now, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're excited about the team you watch. You're excited about what the possibilities could be for the future. You've got lots of good young players. You're making good signings, players like Trossard. I think we need to do something similar to that. But
Agreed.
I don't think it can happen with these win now type managers. I truly
It won't.
don't.
No, it won't work. You're right.
That's why 2 years ago when we hired, 18 months ago when we hired Conte, that was what I think Levy got wrong at that time, was that he needed to bite the bullet at that time and start over again rather than paper over. He's basically, we need surgery, and he put a plaster on it. And our fan base have bought into this whole Conte's a winner, just back him and he wins. And it's like, we're not there.
No, of course.
We're not there. So
Materio, mate. You say as long as you get what you want, Savva, we stand together and are not divided. I don't know if that's
as long as you get
dig. It's absolute nonsense, bro.
What?
No,
Sorry.
Listen,
what
he's saying is as long as you get your way, then we're all good. But
look, listen, I'll tell you what, it's fine. That's cool. Okay. So the other option is we go and get another Conte type manager. Yeah. We go and get another Conte like manager that will only be here for 18 months because they're used to winning. Yeah. And then we're back in the same situation in a year to 18 months time.
We've done them now. There is none left, is there? That are practical. So
right.
That model, we never really went in on that model. We just thought we could do that. We could get the effect without going through the process, which is in their case spending the money. Yeah, it was never going to happen. But
agreed.
We are where we are now, and I think this club needs to get the next one right. Even if it's only for 2 years, 3 years, get it right, just to stabilise the club. We can't keep going down this endless, going down that road, turning around and coming back all the time.
Yeah,
it has to be. This is what we're going to do now, and that's why I say Brendan Rodgers ticks all them boxes, because he just, what you're going to get. He's used to the league. He's used to working with young players. He will embrace young players. Everything that Daniel Levy put out in that statement, all that them before he hired Nuno, saying exactly what the club's vision and DNA should be. He ticks all those boxes. So if that's what you want, then that's what you go and get.
Pete, do you know what I don't get though? It's like when people say things like Levy won't do a project. This word project gets thrown around a lot. It doesn't matter who comes in. It doesn't matter what name you give it. Project, build,
everything technically is.
Whatever word you give it, whoever comes in is going to have to do the same thing, right? Whoever comes in needs to build something. And Daniel Levy, Daniel Levy wants top 4 every season. But I think Daniel Levy is going to start to realise very, very quickly, with Kane possibly not being here, Son getting a bit older, Lloris going. I think he's going to realise very, very quickly that I might want top 4 every year, but if I don't build something now, that's not a reality. Because look at us this year. I don't think
the best thing that ever happened to us if we finish 6th, 7th, or 8th, or whatever. Not that I want
don't
it.
agree. I don't think
any Tottenham fan that I hear that are happy when we lose, or that celebrate their opinion when we lose, and they ultimately want us to finish as low as possible so they can be proven right with their perspective, I've got absolutely zero time for it. I want Tottenham to finish as well as we possibly can. That said, there has been a bit of a historical proof to the idea that Daniel Levy makes things happen when things aren't looking so proud, things aren't looking so positive. Right? So if Tottenham were to drop out, and I think this season we will, right? We're probably going to finish 5th, 6th, or 7th. If we do finish there, you might see either Daniel Levy look at the situation and think maybe it's too much, put it in a too hard basket and look for an exit, or better, or one, whether it's better or not, I don't know. Take your pick, but he might also go and drop 200 million quid in the summer to try and fix the holes.
Well, you have to wait.
I think this is sorry. I was just sort of on that point. For me, at the moment, I think we just need to be. And I agree everything kind of what's been said. I think we just need to look and be whoever the next manager is we have to look at it long term. I personally, that's how I look at it. I think that's why I'm really keen on someone like a Vincent Kompany, young, kind of look at what Arsenal did and go, do you know what? We're going to hold the panic button as long as we can. As I said earlier, and I was
fans never did, Coach. The fans never
Hmm?
did, mate. Every single fan that is now licking.
But the fans
they all wanted him out.
Yeah, but the fans don't sack. Yeah, but the fans don't sack managers. The owners do. The manager, the chairman sacks manager. The fans don't sack a manager.
Well, some people claim that it was the El Sacico when Manchester United beat us 3-0 last year. And there was a few thousand people singing "Daniel Levy, you get out of our club." That was the.
No, but I think
for Nuno to go. I don't believe it myself, but
no, I can understand why people think that. But there was probably an opportunity that Conte was available, and that's how it happened. I think
he was going anyway, wasn't he, Perchy? Let's be really honest.
Nuno was gone. Nuno was going anyway.
Anyone who thinks that singing at that Man United game got Nuno the sack, there was wild reports all that week that if he loses this game, he's out. We lost,
100%.
Of course.
But every single away fan at the Fulham game this season was singing "Daniel Levy, get out of our club," according to people that want to spread that narrative. If that was the case, why wasn't Conte sacked on the Monday? Didn't happen.
I mean, again, we're talking about Daniel Levy again. I thought we were going to get off this.
I wasn't. My comment wasn't actually about it. My point is actually the longer picture. I just mentioned when I said that the fans don't sack a manager, the owner does. My point being is we do need. And I'm briefly going to mention the chairman for a reason, but not for that reason. But my point being was, for me, and this is what I always say, and when people go about a plan, I genuinely do think we need a plan at this club. We need an actual statement to say, this is how we're going to operate for the next 5 to 10 years. However, it doesn't matter. We go long term and go, this is why I said I'm happy for someone like a Kompany. Heck, I even said wouldn't even care too much if it was Ryan Mason. And we said, you know what, we're just going to go long term with him. Wouldn't even be too against it.
I've got a problem with that. Yeah.
But my point being... No.
I'd rather have Brendan Rodgers than Ryan Mason.
No. I'm just using names. You're missing my point. I'm kidding. My point being is that we say we're going to play this style of football in this period, and we're going to take short-term pain. So we may have 2, 3, maybe even 4 seasons where we're struggling in the league because we're trying to get rid of so much deadwood, and we're going to bring through youngsters through our academy. We're going to start working from the long-term strategy to build. As I said, and work it in that sense. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But it's the sense that actually, why can't we look at what Arsenal do and go, do you know what? We're going to work on a strategy based on what they do. Because Arsenal can't compete financially with the likes of Man City. But they can, and the same with Liverpool. Liverpool can compete with the likes of Man City financially. But they managed to somehow compete with them in the league, though, over those periods. Why can't we go down that strategy and work like that?
I think the difficulty, just quickly, I just want to come on to Danny's point. So Danny said, question for Pete and the panel. Do you think the fans and Levy will have the patience to give someone like Rodgers 3 years to build a team? Pete, let me start with you on that. If I can slightly change your question, Danny, forget the name Rodgers. I think whoever it is, right? Whoever is, will we give a manager 3 years? What, will the penny drop at some point with both the own? Because this has got to be the owners, right? The owners are going to have to let that penny has got to drop with them and the fans joint that, hey, this is our guy for the next 3 or 4 years. We're going to do this. Do you think the fans will have the patience and Levy?
I don't know. For me, I think we've got to look at it a different way. And if we do what we always do, we get what we always get. Yeah. Expectations have to be managed. And it can't be, well, you've got to rebuild the team, rebuild the squad, but you've got to get in the top 4. Yeah. For me, I think that's a nonsense. I think the best thing for us for this season will have no European football. So that manager has got week Premier League game, week to work with a team. And you know what? You might even have a stab at a cup because you're like, well, that's another game. But without a European distraction, we've seen how teams go from like Chelsea, who get into a complete mess like we are now. No European football for a year. Manager comes in because of the way they spend and what they've already got. They end up going winning the league. Obviously, we ain't going to do that. But we need that sort of break where we go, right, all you're going to do is just do Premier League games and that's it. And then you run the cup games. But no European distractions. That means we ain't got to go out and buy tons of players now. Yeah, because we don't need to compete. We don't need to play twice a week all the time. It'd be the best thing for us. But as fans, I think it depends on who they do it, on who they give it. For me, I think to give it to a company or it's too soon for him. And I think he'd be mad to do it. I think he'll be doing his own career damage if he does.
Why?
Because why
is it too soon for him, but not Arteta at Arsenal? And as Alex said earlier, sorry, just to play devil's advocate, as Alex said earlier, the managers that have done the best in the last 10, 15 years at this football club have all been the ones that didn't have really a lot of experience under their belt and weren't big names.
Okay, well, Arteta was working under Guardiola at Man City, so that gives him a certain pedigree. And it was a big risk for Arsenal. And let's be honest, it's only this year. I know they won the FA Cup the first year, but he was on the brink. He'd been on the brink many a time. Yeah, for me, for company, I think he's done well in the Championship. Yeah, and he's done really well what he's done there. I think for me, come into the Premier League because it's a massive jump. The Championship and the Premier League are huge jumps. Yeah, and when you can't come up with Burnley, you're going to have setbacks because you're going to probably lose more than you win. You could be in relegation battle. I think for him personally, add that experience to his CV and his repertoire dealing with that. Because at City, always known he's winning for the last few years. He's gone to Burnley, he's won. He's winning. He's going to win the league at Cantor. Yeah, have that get more rounded experience because at Spurs it's a different animal because there's going to be tough times. Yeah, especially when you try and do that transition of the squad. And for me, I think we still got some players there that might not react well. I include Harry Kane in that to players he's used to playing against. I think that's why I think it's slightly too soon for a company for where we are. Let's get stabilised as a club where we're not such a basket case. We've got a director of football that might be gone, will be gone, and might need a new one coming in. We've got a new football director, whatever his job is going to be, whatever his number 2 to leave. He runs our football side. I think for someone like Conte to come into that now, I think is nuts. I think he needs to stick with Burnley.
Couldn't that be just devil's advocate? Couldn't that be the type of crazy that actually works? Couldn't it be?
I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying
I'm just sitting on the fence here. Pete, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, for company, I think he's more sensible than that and going, I don't need that experience now and pressure of getting into top 4. You're going to go for a manager who's going to come up from the Championship and then go, right, now you've got to get in the top 4. Yeah, where his next objective as a manager in terms of his progress should be, right, you've got in the league, now stay in the league with that team. And then look at maybe taking the next step up. Because you see these managers take that step, Lampard, i.e. take that step up too quickly and they've not had anything in between. It's too big a jump for me, too quick. I think he's done really well. It's not taking anything from him, but I just think now it's too soon for him. And I think he's more sensible than that. We're such a basket case at the moment. You don't need to get involved in all that.
I think that any manager that comes in, we're never going to be in a relegation battle all the while Harry Kane and Heung-min Son are at the club. So I feel like even if he had Harry Kane for his last year, look, this isn't just about company for me. I genuinely feel this is going to be a tough gig for whoever gets it. And for me, the best candidate would have been Ten Hag. That guy is for me a proper old school football manager. But guys, let's anyone want to say any last things on who could potentially be the manager on his slot? Someone like that, would he want to leave Feyenoord and come to Spurs?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, I mean, manager, regardless of like what we think as a football club, and we watch this every day, moving from the Dutch league to the Premier League, that'll always happen. Let's be frank. No disrespect to the Dutch league, but if Leicester City went in for him, he'd probably go there. Like, and it's regardless, like in that sense, like a manager going from the Dutch league to the Premier League, yeah, of course he would.
I think for me, if you're going to get company in, you need to have a plan with him. You need to also have the preparation for if he does leave, that you have a manager in place that is going to continue the work that he's done.
Sure.
And I think this is going to be a problem for Tottenham Hotspur because I don't agree with the whole thing with Pochettino when he left. I think the fact is that we didn't prepare for somebody who's going to carry on his work. You see what I'm saying? Now, I think it's a criticism that is at Tottenham because we've made mistakes before. It's a hard thing to do, to replace the person that's done well, I think. But I think we have to get on board with that, and Brighton have shown a great example of doing that. Okay, because I look at Deserbi, and this is why I have a go at someone like Paratici. If he's got so much contacts, why did he not know about Deserbi in the first place? Because I think is he Italian? Is he
Yep.
Italian?
Yeah.
How does he not know about him? How does he not know about him when he's got all the contacts in the world? You get what I'm saying? But it's going to be a problem for every team because Arsenal
but let's be honest, Alex. At that time, having hired Nuno, if he had gone from Nuno to De Zerbi, who wouldn't have been known by most Spurs fans at that time,
Right.
there would have been riots, and that's the problem. When you bring in a manager after you've made a mistake, that's what he keeps doing. He keeps bringing in Jose, great, Conte, great. This is why at some point the fans, all of us as well, need to stop. Like, people are going, "Oh, just get Nagelsmann." Don't get me wrong, I'd love Nagelsmann, but do we ever stop and think these managers might not want us? Like, everyone's saying, why isn't Poch already in place? Well,
but Savva,
anyone ever thought that Pochettino might not want to come back?
Yeah,
Why would you
I do. I don't think he might.
You think, well, I ain't going near that. That's like Arkham Asylum at the moment. Why do I want to get near that? Yeah, we ain't even got a structure going at the moment. We're having a complete restructure again, like in terms of the management of the football side of the club. Daniel Levy's gone to Scott. As soon as Scott Munn turns up, Daniel Levy's going to have the football side and drop it in his lap. There you go. You deal with that. I'm going to worry about the stadium now and getting more events in. That's my area now. You run the football side. What autonomy he gets and how much money he gets, and that is another question. But all that is going through at the moment. So it's complete restructure. That's why I don't think it's good for someone like company to want to walk into that while everything's constantly moving behind the scenes. We need to be stabilized. And I think if we're going to be stabilized behind the scenes and on the pitch, I think we need to get someone who we definitely know will stabilize on the pitch while we sort out what goes on off it.
But I think it's an excuse what we're saying at the moment because we were able to find someone like Poch. We were able to find someone. I know we got lucky with Poch. We were able to find someone like.
We didn't find him. Southampton found him.
I know, but you get what I'm saying, though. That we still went to him, even though it was a risk to go for him. We still went for Martin Jol. So my point is that those managers were a risk at the start of it, and if we did our research and did our due diligence and looked at it, that's going back to the processes at Tottenham, because obviously we have got the wrong processes in place to not find these to find these managers. Okay, is that if we have these systems in place, maybe we'll make the right decisions on what we want, and that's it. Because why are Brighton on the money with their managers? Because they've got an identity, and it goes back to what is the thing that we want to achieve. What is the identity of the club, and what is the end of the day what we want to achieve? And that is where Daniel Levy is at the problem, and that's it. And that's where I've landed and made myself known, and that's it. Mr. Box Office time, and that's it. If you don't know, get to know. I'm done.
2 hours.
Back to you, Henry. Back to Savva, and done.
Henry.
Back to you, Savva. I'm done.
Right. Yeah. Did he just call me Henry?
He just called you Henry.
That was my mistake.
Oh, Henry.
That was one.
Look, for the last 10, 15 minutes, as long as everyone's got time, I just want to talk about one more subject. Just before we do, just want to say thank you to Anthony THFC, who said, how can any manager build anything when the club are extending contracts to players like Dier and Davis and buying players before they come in? Listen, this is a great point. This really is a great point. I think this is a huge issue for me, guys. And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about Eric Dier, and I want to talk about Davinson Sanchez.
So before you do, mate, I've got to jump, bro. I've got to be up early, and I'm tired. So I've got to be up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So
cool. No worries, mate.
Love you all. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
See you again.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Take care. So yeah, guys, I mean, this is, I want to talk about, let's start with this point with Eric Dier. how, if we're saying Paratici's not there at the moment, Scott Munn's not there at the moment, are we saying this decision to give Eric Dier a new contract if he gets one, is purely down to Daniel Levy saying, I want this player to sign a new contract when there's not even a manager in place? That's absurdity, isn't it? No manager, no director of football, no whatever Scott Munn's position is, but we might give Eric Dier a new 3-year contract. It's absurd, isn't it, guys?
3 days ago. I think that was just been. I mean, we've been hearing about this for weeks, if not a couple of months now. So I think that is already being done. It's just a case of when it takes effect or they want to choose to announce it. Yeah, that's my opinion on it. It's already been agreed. Paratici's put that in place. Conte. I mean, this is Paratici's work. Same with Davies. Levy will be well of it because it's not buying players. But listen, I'm not against keeping the players on for a bit longer if they want to be going to be squad players. What I'm against is them staying and being in the first 11 because you have to transition, obviously, in the squad. You can't just go right everyone out and everyone in. So you will need to keep some of your more regular players about, but use them as squad players where you breed in new players. Do I want them to both have, not both of them, one of them potentially, but it goes back to what I said. We're a basket case. It's been a poor decision. If Paratici's offered Dier a new contract, he should be sacked for that rather than
Agreed.
Whatever he's done in Italy. Do you know what I mean? That's just it'd be dismissed for that.
It's crazy and it goes on. Please keep liking everybody. Please subscribe to everyone. If I can get another
in the chat.
Hang on. Please subscribe to Perchy TV. Please subscribe to Alex THFC. And please, if I can get 10 more subscribers before the show ends, I'll be really, really grateful. Guys, it just, for me, what's more crazy? Forget how bad Dier is for a moment, right? Let's forget that for one moment. It's crazy, the idea to me of giving a player a new contract when we don't have a manager in place to say, yeah, I want this guy as part of my team, my squad, whatever it may be. Isn't that crazier than, forget his ability, we all know how bad he is. Isn't that the crazy part of it, Perchy, that the new manager might come in and go, why has this guy just been given another 3 years? I don't want him anywhere near my 11.
Bang on. No, agreed. I think it's crazy that contracts are being offered right now. And it's not just contracts. The fact that we're hearing talks that we want to sign James Maddison regardless of the new manager. Like what? What? It's circus. You can't. The thing is we can all sit there and go, oh, James Maddison will improve us. But a manager might come in and go, do you know what? I want my player at number 10. I don't want James Maddison. I want this player. If buts and maybes, we don't really know what the answer is. But you're right. The manager is the player. If he doesn't want a player, why are we? If he wants a player, doesn't want a player, we should not be going anywhere near offering Eric Dier a new contract right now. Listen, I don't think he should be here. Personally, I don't think he should be here. I think he's poor. But I'm also one of those that sits there and goes, do you know what? I can't sit there and blame him anymore because he gets picked every week. So managers are picking. So I sit there and I go, I can't sit there and everyone sits there and goes, he's crap, he's that, he's this and all that. And I go, well, the manager picks him every single week. Conte picked him every single week. Nuno picked him every single game. Do you know what I mean? So it's like he's getting picked regardless. And everyone sits there and goes, he's terrible. I say, yeah, I don't think he's great at all. But I can't sit there and criticize him when he gets picked every week.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, this is an interesting point, isn't it? If we're looking at if we talk about Dier and transition slowly into Sanchez, this is the point, right? Is that they are bad players, and of course you've got to pick someone. But this is the problem for me. If we go back to almost do full circle by going to the 5 at the back, the managers have made themselves have to pick 2 centre halves to play alongside Romero that are poor. Do you know what I mean? This isn't this the worry that people keep picking Eric Dier?
It's the Tottenham way, Savva, because Conte said it himself. I'm not defending him, but he said we're doing it Tottenham's way, and Tottenham's way is carrying on with Dier and Davis.
But Alex, the Tottenham way wasn't to play 5 at the back.
No, but the point I'm making is that we are happy with him because he does a job. and we're happy because he continues. You know, we want to keep the consistency with the players, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the ones that wants punch back. That maybe through. I'm not gonna because we don't know. We don't know in hindsight. We don't know but we know there were certain players that were who were not happy with the training and everything else, right? And those same players want Pochettino back, which is so hypocritical because you wanted him out 4 years ago. So it's like, again, this is why I'm concerned because, as I said before, if you carry on with these players, we will get relegated with these players without Harry Kane, and that's it. Because there is fundamentals of being a top player. It's hard work and running very hard. The thing that's scary about this whole thing is that if Tottenham Hotspur sorted themselves out, we could be fighting for the championship because that's how bang average the league is. That's how frightening this is. Because if you have a system in place with a manager that works well, and you've got players that work well, a good first 11 and good subs as well, that work well, good cohesion, you've got a chance of winning the league. And with a striker like Harry Kane, you've got a very good chance of winning the league. And that's why we're saying that it's a bang average league. Now, this is frightening me even saying this.
But that's still the thing for me. It still doesn't answer the question though. Why does he keep playing Eric Dier?
I've got no idea.
At what point couldn't
idea.
someone say, okay, let's assume we're playing three at the back, Romero's going to play, Longley's going to play, and we're going to give young Charlie Sayers a game at centre half. And I think if you did that, I think most of the fan base would go, yeah, cool. You know what? We're giving a young lad a go. Yes, he's going to make mistakes, but you know what? So are the senior pros playing in front of him. So why not do that? So this is the worry for me, Pete. If I know you've got to jump in 5, we'll end the show in 5 minutes. This is the worry for me, is that through all of this, we've not tried anything like Sarr. Papa Sarr, why isn't he being given a game in midfield? Sayers at centre-back, why isn't he being given a game? Yeah, these young Jamie Donnelly up front. None of these youngsters are getting a game, but players like Dier are picked over and over and over again. And I
don't think it's connected. I don't think the first team is connected with the actual youth teams at the moment. I think there's a massive disconnect since John McDermott left Tottenham Hotspur. That disconnect, has grown apart. Let's be honest here. I think that's where the club have to look at it. Really,
that's what remit is. That's what his job is going to be. Is to sort.
Yeah, because I think that's the problem.
I think there's one other reason why these players get contracts, and that we hear the term "protect their value." It's because they don't want them going for free. Because no one wants to buy them, but Levy don't want to let them go for free either. So we would extend the contract. It's not a pay rise. It's not they keep playing. It's just so hopefully someone else will buy them next year or the following year, and then they can make some money on them. So it's
I think that for me is you're bang on, Pete. Sorry, just
that is probably the reason because they got so they can make some money on them or try and make money on them.
We try to protect values of players that are bang average.
I don't agree with that. I think it's crap. If they no one wants to buy them when they could buy them now for cheap at the end of their contract, what makes you think someone's going to want to pay more money when they've got a contract?
But the thing is, though, this is the thing.
Time and time again, it happens time and time. Not just at our club, but other clubs. I mean, when I done shows with Harry with the Arsenal lad, he was like, they do the same. They did the same thing there for a while. Give players contract, protect their value, and actually, they're just crap. No one's ever going to buy them. So the only value you'd have is just letting them go. But
I think the thing is, though, they're going to end up going for free anyway. That's the thing, because we did that with Aurier, and then we ended up letting him go for free anyway. Adebayo, we did it for those players already. We did it with Doherty. Doherty was supposed to go on loan to wherever he went to in Spain,
chaos,
and then we ended up letting him go anyway for free. So
because we had to.
I think
we had to because we
unfortunately
cocked up
we're
the
gonna-
numbers.
we're going to end up making a loss on them anyway. Yeah, I mean,
We won't make a loss on any of them.
so-
Why? Only cost 4 million. So whatever he goes for, if he goes for nothing, you've lost 4 million. He's probably cost you that in goals in terms of league positions. And Davis cost, I think, 10 million for years ago. But you're never going to recoup that money, like Davis money. But then
No.
again, you might offer a naive club that might come up that want to buy a season pros, and you do get them, and they might flourish at that level.
Last thing, so we're going to go for 2 more minutes. Last thing, guys, listen, I don't know about you, and I don't know how many people it was with the booing of Sanchez. If people were booing Sanchez, for me, I just think it's disgraceful. Yes, the guy isn't very good at football, but again, going back to the earlier point, for me, that goes straight on the manager. Why are you putting him? Why are you putting him into that situation? What did you make of the booing, guys? I don't want to talk about how bad Davinson Sanchez is. I think we all know he's not a good defender.
I would never boo a player.
Before I think he was booed not because of him being Sanchez. I think he was booed because he brought a defender on, and then he was cheered when he went off because an attacker came on. I think that was it, because it was a chance to change something, go to a back four, or bring on another player at midfield or whatever. And then what did he do? Brings on another defender. Yeah, I think that was the reaction from the fans, was more at the manager in terms of doing that than actually the players involved. I mean, we know Sanchez only. That's my opinion on it, because he could have had a blinder for all we knew. Yeah, but I just think fans are just so bored now seeing the same crap. Where I think
it was. I think actually, Pete, what it was. I do agree. Actually, what you said, I feel very sorry for Sanchez, because actually, I actually didn't think I think he's a terrible football player at this club before anyone says him. But I genuinely don't think he was bad enough to be booed off. By the way, and I don't think there was. I actually think the booing was more a frustration point of everyone else. Everyone was toxic at that moment, and unfortunately he just became the scapegoat at the moment. I think it was, if it was directed at him, I don't think it's fair. I think it's unfair. It's not fair to have booed him. He wasn't, as I said, yes, he's been bad, but there was worse players on the pitch than him, by the way. And I think it's come at a stage of absolute anguish and anger at the whole game, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is even like, I think people were blaming him for something that wasn't him. Like for the first goal that Bournemouth scored, Porro tried dribbling past a few players, lost the ball. They slipped in. Who scored it? Was it Vita or whoever? And he did the keeper beautifully. And people going, "Oh, Sanchez on Sanchez's side." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I don't like Sanchez, but that was Porro, right?" Yeah, for the second goal, I think he got twisted inside out. But for me, guys, I think that, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, because I'm going to stop the show in 60 seconds. I think the worst thing for me was I was doing a live watch along with Henry. And when Longley went down, both Henry and I were saying, "Okay, cool. Bring on a centre mid." Do you know what I mean? We were like, bring on a centre mid, because Bournemouth had just started to, we scored, and then Bournemouth had just started to get a lot of the football. Thinking, bring on Sarr, even Alfie Devine, I don't care. And when you see Sanchez, it was a bit like, oh my God, like it's just almost like they do it to themselves. But look, guys,
that's what I think it was. That's my take on it. I think it was that.
Yeah, I mean,
you always support a player when he's playing for you, no matter what.
Yeah, I think it's okay to talk about play like in shows like this. We talk about them, but I think at the game, the booing, I think anyone that's being sent abuse and stuff, I think is just wrong. But look, guys, listen, just quickly, last question. I just need one answer from all of you. Our next 3 games are Newcastle away, Man United at home, and Liverpool away. How many points from that 9 are we getting, Alex? How many points?
0.
0 points. Perchy.
Was it so we had Newcastle away, none. Who was next? Liverpool away? Man United.
Newcastle away, Man U at home, Liverpool away.
I'll say we'll be lucky to get a point. We
Let's
might
get a
get
point.
2. If we get, we might get a couple of points. We might draw at Newcastle. We lose. We ain't beating Man United, and Liverpool are equally as crap as we are at the moment. But we never beat them anyway, so we might get a point there, maybe. But does it? Yeah, I'm gonna say a point.
Okay, Pete, out of 9.
Nothing. I think we get trunched by Newcastle. They'll be all over it. Man
Yeah, I
United
agree.
will get scored as well because they'll just basically cement top 4 for them. And Liverpool, you've seen what they can do when they done the Alamo on Arsenal. You can imagine us going through that.
Oh,
Yeah, do you know what I mean? We are poor. We can catch them with a goal like through Kane or something, but as soon as they want to turn up and play, and we always struggle there, especially in this back 5 system. We've always had a nightmare there with a back 5 system because we just get pinned back, and then you can see Trent just bringing balls in for fun.
yeah. I agree. For me, I think the only point I could see was possibly drawing with United at home.
Yeah,
Possibly.
Really?
I listen. The only point I can possibly see purely because I don't think they've got a goal scorer. But look, at the end of the day, I think if we get no points, I don't think anyone's going to be shocked. So there'll be no overreactions from me if we get 0 points from 1
Get
to
what we
9.
deserve for allowing this to happen.
Yeah,
Putting this
absolutely.
in charge, so we reap what we sow.
Guys, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. I've really enjoyed tonight.
By the way, Savva, well done. I haven't said it out in public, but well done for this week, Bob, because you've been smashing it, Bob. Man.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've been killing it, mate.
On shows, Bob, man, and well done to you, Bob. That's what I need to say. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Listen, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone in the chat. I think most people on the whole kept it as football. Just know anybody in the chat, listen, we will always keep this stream talking about football. So please don't come in and start talking about other YouTubers. No, you didn't swear. I've got no interest. Everybody in the chat, just so you know, I've seen a few people try it. I've got no interest in discussing other YouTubers' comments, other shows. I want to talk about football.
It's a football debate. All right. What we do here.
So thank you very much to everyone in the chat. If you haven't liked the show, please do. Please subscribe. If we can get a couple more for the end of the show, that would be great. Please subscribe to Alex THFC. Please subscribe to the Purchase TV. Much love. And I've got a tiny little exit video for you all to watch as we close the show. Pete, you're going to love it. Pete,
it is good, actually.
It's 10 seconds, Pete. It's 10 seconds. It's 10 seconds. Everybody, much love. See you later. Take care. And thank you very much.
And here comes Hurst. He's got some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now. It's 4.